Are you ready?
You're listening to DJ Oz Ozzy.
Would you believe me when I tell you, you are the queen of my heart? Please don't deceive me when I hurt you, just ain't the way it seems. Can you feel my love, buzz? 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 Would you believe me when I tell you, you are the queen of my heart? Please don't deceive me when I hurt you, just ain't the way it seems. Can you feel my love, buzz? Can you feel my love, buzz? Can you feel my love, buzz? Can you feel my love, buzz?
Before this ISP thing,
Uh-huh.
we never saw each other. The freshmen were sophomore.
Okay.
We didn't know any.
Okay.
I don't know their names. I don't know.
Okay. So they just up and decided to just start messing with you. There was
because of the way that we dress.
Okay, so you didn't do anything at all at any point in time that would have even a couple days ago or even a month ago or anything like that?
I don't know these girls.
Okay, all right. So they just continue to pick on you and pick on you. Then at some point, you did what happened? They got up and confronted you in class, or did you say it was the bathroom or the hallway? Okay, the bathroom.
We were going to stack chairs, and after we stacked chairs, we went to the bathroom.
Okay.
And I was talking with my friends, they were talking with their friends, and we were laughing, and they had said something like, "Why do they laugh like that?" And they were talking about us in front of us. And so I went up there and I poured water on them.
Okay.
And then all three of them came at me. They came at me, they grabbed onto my hair, I grabbed onto them. I threw one of them into a paper towel dispenser, and then they got my legs out from under me and got me on the ground, started beating the shit out of me.
Okay.
And then my friends tried to jump in and help, but I'm not sure, I blacked out.
They put their hands on you, okay, and it was unwanted. I will also tell you, though, that old saying, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, meaning the way the courts are going to look at it is it's a mutual fight, okay? So both parties are victims, but both parties are also suspects in this. You get what I'm saying? You're offender as well. So I will absolutely do a report. If that's what you want, I can do, okay, but I'm just letting you know. If the other party wants to do the same thing, she's going to be, the assault will be on her as well. Because she first assaulted, she was the one who initiated it, essentially, because you got freedom of speech. You can do all this all day long. The action of physically, the moment she threw that water, you've now assaulted somebody. You made the first jab. Just because it doesn't make it right, but they defended themselves, quote unquote. You retaliated back. Now we've got this back and forth when both parties had equal opportunity to separate. So that's where I'm saying it's not going to be in the best of light for you, but I can absolutely do that if that's what you like. I'm just telling you, it may not go the direction you want it to go. I am not the judge. I'm not the jury. I'm here to just say, this is the facts. This is what's presented. But mom as guardian, because essentially juvenile cannot make that legal decision. If you want to proceed with it, absolutely. I will have you write out a statement. I'll document it, but I'm going to have to do the same thing for them. And if they say that, I'm going to gather their information as well. And based on her own admittance on camera, as well as whenever else, she essentially started it.
So that was next Benedict in the hospital. She splashed water at kids that were teasing her and her friends. So they tackled her and beat her head into the ground, or to the floor, probably, assumingly tile in the school. So, you know, it's the same thing, right? You know, they defended themselves from the splashes by murdering her. So they defended themselves from the splashing water by murdering them. I have to say her, and I apologize. I'm still growing too as a person. I'm an older millennial, so gender neutral stuff is hard for my vocabulary to pick up too. So I apologize for that. I do try though. I swear I try, but with so much media out there insisting on misgendering Next Benedict, it's hard. We're not even here to talk about Next Benedict. I just thought that the context of my emotional disposition might need to be laid out. I do have a gender non-conforming child in the school system. And people, before anybody says that I groomed them, obviously not. They groomed me more so than anything, and more so that they told me, hey, you don't have to conform to what other people expect from you. So they made me feel like I didn't have to hide myself inside anymore, was how they helped me. So my kids I love my kids. And that's why this situation hurts me so much. Could you imagine sending your kid off to school? And this isn't a very American thing. I don't think anywhere else in the other country they're sending their kids off to school. And they're like, oh, by the way, you might not come back. You might die today. You might die in school. I'm very quiet. I'm kind of leaning away from my mic. Sorry. I'm slouched over here. Let me see if I can turn my mic up, though. Just to make sure that everybody can hear what I'm saying. There's that. Here we go. Is that any better? Am I still very quiet? Let me know. Let me know if I sound all right. It says it's all the way up, like it usually is, so I don't know. Okay. Well, let me mess with things here, because I don't want to go into this without you guys being able to hear me. Alright, headphones is good on the air. Alright. Any better? Do I sound any better at all now? I have the mic right underneath me. Still looks really quiet on my monitor though. I don't know why. Is the main turned down? No. Check there. Let's switch the microphone over to the other one, and that peaks really high. Now let's switch it back. There we go. Check. There's some audio check for you. Let me know. Global settings. Yeah. Okay. Everything looks right. Anyway, we will continue on. Hopefully I sound a little bit better. Let me know. Compared to the, I'm assuming that was compared to the body cam footage that I sounded really low. I don't know what's going on here. Every time I open up a new, or open up a new platform now, it's got everything reset. If I switch from doing my live from the Hive layout over to doing this layout for Creation Watch, it like resets everything, and I don't know. It resets the volume all weird, and the camera's all weird. It's really annoying. I don't know how to stop it from happening. But enough meta. Let's talk about first and foremost. Let's talk about the relationship between between libs of TikTok and journalist Taylor Lorenzo, because I'm gonna give you all some background. Last night I was pretty fired up about this. You can ask my friends. We were in Gather. I was yelling at people. I was really this interview really got me going. There were a lot of points of contention, and I'm glad I held off on doing it because I want to present it the right way. One of the things that was pointed out to me was that the raw footage as presented currently on YouTube didn't have any prerequisite information, which is a problem if you don't know who Taylor Lorenz is, or if you don't know who Raichik is. So this is an article from way back in April 19th of 2022. So it's been a while. Meet the woman behind Libs of TikTok, secretly fueling the right's outrage machine. A popular Twitter account has morphed into a social media phenomenon, spreading anti-LGBTQ plus sentiment and shaping public discourse. So I believe this is the initial engagement between Taylor and Chaya's content, like on a public platform. So this is when she started covering her. I'm not gonna read everything because she's covered her from here forward pretty steadily with everything that she's done. All the stuff associated with her. She's the Washington Post's Chaya Raichik handler, right? This is the first time they're going to meet face to face, but we're going to lay some groundwork first. On March 8th, a Twitter account called Libs of TikTok posted a video of a woman teaching sex education to children in Kentucky, calling the woman in the video a predator. The next evening, the same clip was featured on Laura Ingram's Fox News program, prompting the host to ask, when did our public schools, any schools, become what are essentially grooming centers for gender identity radicals? So, I mean, do I need to tell my audience why teaching sex ed is not gender identity radicals? Because that's not the last time that we're going to hear that on this stream, right? That's not the last time that's going to come up. I'm still annoyed at why my microphone's not peaking high enough. I don't know what to do to get it because it's everything I show is saying it's all the way up. So annoying. I know, do I probably still, let me know if I sound better at any point. I'm still feeling like I sound really quiet. Like, oh, there you go. That's much better. There we go. I found the issue. Excellent. All right. Now I'm going to sound way too loud. Woo, that's better. Thank goodness. Okay. Continuing on. Libs of TikTok repost a steady stream of TikTok videos and social media posts, primarily from LGBTQ plus people, often including incendiary framing designed to generate outrage. Videos shared from the account quickly find their way to the most influential names in right-wing media. The account has emerged as a powerful force on the internet, shaping right-wing media, impacting anti-LGBTQ plus legislation, and influencing millions by posting viral videos aimed at inciting outrage among the right. The anonymous account's impact is deep and far-reaching. Its content is amplified by high-profile media figures, politicians, and right-wing influencers. Its tweets reach millions, with influence spreading far beyond its more than 648,000 Twitter followers. It's in the millions now, by the way. In the millions. Libs of TikTok has become an agenda setter in right-wing online discourse, and the content it surfaces shows a direct correlation with recent push in legislation and rhetoric directly targeting the LGBTQ plus community. Libs of TikTok is basically acting as a wire service for the broader right-wing media ecosystem, said Ari Drennan, LGBTQ program director for Media Matters, the progressive media watchdog group. It's been shaping public policy in a real way and affecting teachers' ability to feel safe in the classroom. The account has been promoted by podcast host Joe Rogan, and it has been featured in New York Post, The Federalist, The Post Millennial, and slews of other right-wing news sites. Meghan McCain has retweeted it. The online influencer Glenn Greenwald has amplified it to his 1.8 million Twitter followers, while calling himself the account's godfather. Last Thursday, the woman behind the account appeared anonymously on Tucker Carlson's show to complain about being temporarily suspended for violating Twitter's community guidelines. Fox News often creates news packages around the content that Libs of TikTok has surfaced. The role I've seen this account play in finding new characters for right-wing propaganda, said Jillian Brandstetter, a media strategist for the ACLU. It's relying on the endless stream of content from TikTok and the internet to cast any individual trans person as a new villain in their story. Throughout its increasingly popular posts, and despite numerous media appearances, the account has remained anonymous. But the identity of the operator of Libs of TikTok is traceable through a complex online history and reveals someone who has been plugged into the right-wing discourse for 2 years and is now helping to drive it. An account in Search for a Voice in Joe Rogan's big break. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So Chaya Raichik had been working as a real estate salesperson in Brooklyn when in early November 2020, she created the account that would eventually become Libs of TikTok. Under her first handle, Chaya, random numbers, she minimized COVID, cast doubt on the election results, and promoted a dubious story about child sex trafficking rings. On November 23rd, 2020, Raichik, I think it's Raichik, but yeah, Raichik changed handles, this time going by Shea and identifying herself publicly as a real estate investor in Brooklyn. She began doubling down on election fraud conspiracies using QAnon-related language. Early in December, she joked about launching a clothing line titled "Voter Fraud is Real." In January 2021, Raichik started talking about traveling to D.C. to support Trump on January 6th and the Stop the Steal rally. At the Stop the Steal rally. When violence broke out at the Capitol that day, she tweeted a play-by-play account claiming to be on the ground. They were rubber bullets from law enforcement. One hit right next to me, she said. She posted a video from the crowd and spoke of tear gas being deployed nearby. After saying she left the riot, she used Twitter to downplay the event, claiming it was peaceful compared to a BLM protest. Later that month, Raichik cycled through 2 more Twitter names, this time focusing on state politicians. First under the handle Chaya Raichik and the display name Chaya Raichik, and then under the new handle Cuomo Must Go, and rallied against New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, a Democrat, calling for him to resign. She promoted the effort to recall Governor Gavin Newsom, Democrat. She also began posting about Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, calling him actually brilliant. By early last March, she pivoted to a parody account titled Houseplant POTUS, pretending to tweet as if she was a houseplant living with President Biden. She revamped her avatar to look like a small shrub with Biden's face on the leaves. At this point in time, she also claimed to be proudly Orthodox Jewish living in Brooklyn and work in real estate in her Twitter bio. But the houseplant parody never took off. On April 19th, 2021, she pivoted her account once again, this time to Libs of TikTok. Just 4 months after getting started, Libs of TikTok got its big break. Joe Rogan started promoting the account to the millions of listeners on his podcast. He mentioned it several times on the show in August, and then in late September, Libs of TikTok is one of the greatest effing accounts of all time, he said. With his seal of approval, Raichik's followers following skyrocketed. Libs of TikTok gained more prominence throughout the end of last year, cementing its spot in the right-wing media outrage cycle. Its attack against the LGBTQ plus community also escalated. In January, Raichik's page was leaning hard into groomer discourse, calling for any teacher who came out as gay to their students to be fired on the spot. Her anti-trans tweets went especially viral. She called on her followers to contact schools that were allowing boys in the girls' bathrooms and pushed the false conspiracy theory that schools were installing litter boxes in bathrooms for children who identify as cats, which is where fucking Joe Rogan gets that bullshit from, who's the main source of signal boosting that nonsense. She also purported that adults who teach children about LGBTQ plus identities are abusive, that being gender nonconforming or an ally to the LGBTQ plus community is a mental illness, and referred to schools as government-run indoctrination camps for LGBTQ plus communities. Or just the community in general. She lumps us all as one, so... Libs of TikTok is shaping our entire political conversation about the rights of LGBTQ people to participate in society, Drennan said. It feels like they're single-handedly taking us back a decade in terms of public discourse around LGBTQ rights. It's been like nothing we've ever really seen before. Or we've ever really seen, I guess there's no before. By March, Libs of TikTok was directly impacting legislation. DeSantis' press secretary, Christina Pushaw, credited the account with opening her eyes and informing her views on the state's restrictive legislations that ban discussion of sexuality or gender identity in kindergarten through third grade, referred to by critics as the Don't Say Gay bill. She and Libs of TikTok have interacted with each other at least 138 times publicly, according to reports by Media Matters. When asked by the Post about her relationship with the account, Pushaw wrote, I follow like a tweet, I twallow like and retweet Libs of TikTok. My interactions with that account are public, and added that she is a strong supporter of its mission. As the legislation progressed before eventually being signed into law on March 28th, Libs of TikTok ramped up attacks, flooding its feed with accusations of grooming. The right-wing media and influential conservative figureheads used anti-LGBTQ content from Libs of TikTok as fuel for their argument. Fox News host Jesse Waters and Tucker Carlson began featuring content straight from Libs of TikTok on air, with Carlson urging his viewers to follow it before it's banned if you want to know what's happening in your child's school. Fox News did not respond to requests for comments. Tucker's gone now. But, as the account has grown in prominence, Raichik has taken steps to obscure her identity. Though she has done numerous high-profile media appearances, she's appeared anonymously. However, when registering the domain libsoftiktok.us last October, she used her full name and cell phone number linked to her real estate salesperson contact information. On Saturday, software developer Travis Brown, who is working on a project with support from Prototype Fund, an organization that backs open source projects, unearthed the account's Twitter history and posted a thread detailing information about its profile changes. When a reporter called the phone number registered to Raichik's real estate profile and libsoftiktok.us, the woman who answered hung up after the reporter identified herself as calling from the Washington Post. A woman at the address listed to Raichik's name in Los Angeles declined to identify herself. On Monday night, a tweet from Glenn Greenwald confirmed the house that was visited belonged to Raichik's family. Though Raichik has claimed to run the account alone, last August, Grant Lowley, a lawyer and Republican operative, filed a trademark for Libs of TikTok as a news reporter service. Lowley said he is not at liberty to comment when reached by the Post, and we'll see that conversation come up as well. I don't do this for money or fame, Raichik told the New York Post, which, like all the outlets interviewing her, allowed her to speak on the condition of anonymity. In February, while comparing herself to Project Veritas, I'm not some politician or blue check journalist. I feel like, it's kind of ironic she's got the blue check now. I feel like there are so many small stories that are so important that aren't getting out, and that's what I'm here for. In other anonymous interviews, she claimed to have left New York for somewhere in California recently, turning the account into a full-time job. For a while, she was soliciting donations through Venmo. While Libs of TikTok briefly had a TikTok account of its own, it was suspended for violating community guidelines. Last week, the account was briefly suspended from Twitter for the second time for violating the platform's rule on targeting harassment. But Libs of TikTok continues to amass followers across the internet and has more than 65,000 followers on Instagram, nearly 10,000 on YouTube, and a robust presence on right-wing YouTube competitor Rumble. Along with other right-wing apps like Gab and Getter, it is also building an email database through newsletter platform Revenue. Raichik has said in the interviews that she crowdsources the content for the feed from the flood of messages she receives every day. In that sense, Libs of TikTok is a collective molded to the hive mind of the right-wing internet. She views her account as giving a voice and platform to concerned parents and ordinary citizens. I see shared spirit in Libs of TikTok's appetite for it in the right-wing media more broadly, which is turning neighbor against neighbor and turning any individual into an enforcer of this very strict gender regimen. Brandsetter said, there's a deep sense of paranoia this rhetoric inspires and is extremely volatile. It's more than playing with fire. It inspires a vigilante spirit. Raichik boasts that several teachers have been fired as a result of being featured on the account. Tyler Ryan, a former English teacher in Oklahoma, posted a video telling LGBTQ kids shunned by their parents that Ryan was proud of them and loved them. It was featured on Libs of TikTok last week. Since being featured on the page, Ryan has been barraged with harassment and death threats. I've always seen myself as the type of teacher to stand up for marginalized voices, Ryan said. I see fellow teachers on TikTok speaking out for our disenfranchised students, and they're getting the same sort of harassment too. The popularity of Libs of TikTok comes at a time when far-right communities across the internet have begun doxing school officials and calling for their execution. Parents of LGBTQ plus youth have been driven out of their towns. Local school board members have reported death threats. On a recent podcast, Raichik said that as her following continues to grow, the fullest extent of her impact may not be realized until the election this fall. She has encouraged her audience to overtake school boards and run in local elections. These people, she said, referring to members of the LGBTQ plus community, some of them are literally evil and grooming kids. They should not be in schools. They should not be teachers. Members of the LGBTQ plus community who still attempt to use platforms like TikTok to educate people on gay or trans issues are subject to intense online abuse, causing a chilling effect. Libs of TikTok is playing on the fears and misunderstandings of those of who trans people are, while amping the extreme rhetoric and normalizing portraying queer people as inherently dangerous to children. Branstetter said, I'm almost done. It's hard to stoke moral panic without main characters, and the role Libs of TikTok is playing is finding those characters. This is from columnist, again, Taylor Lorenz, from the Washington Post. She covers technology and online culture. Before joining the Post, she was a technology reporter for the New York Times. Personally, she was a technology reporter. Previously, she was a technology reporter for The Atlantic and the Daily Beast. So, yeah, this is Taylor's profile. And as you can see, she covers this sort of neighborhood of TikTok topics because she's a technology reporter, YouTube, social media stuff. So Chaya Raichik is going to be on her radar constantly. That's just the way it's going to be. So with the recent conflict with Ness Benedict, the Taylor and Chaya Raichik sat down for an interview, which we're going to watch here in a second, but let me catch up on my chat. I don't think it's been popping off too much, just people listening, but not shocked she used to be a freaking real estate agent. They're so confused, I swear. Rupert is just going to replace Tucker with another one, which is Josie Waters, right? Oh, and do they have a YouTube channel still? That's a good question. We can look. I think they do, though. Yeah, I really think they do. Yeah, there's a few different ones, though. Probably backups. Would say this is probably their original. It's got 47,000 subscribers at this point in time. Only 17 videos, though. I imagine they don't keep things up very long. Things probably pop up and get taken down fairly quickly on here. Yeah, like the oldest content. It's 2 years, and the newest content is 4 days ago, but there's not much in between. Like, a lot of stuff has gone up and gone down, maybe. Or maybe she just doesn't put out much. But surprisingly, there's not a lot of shorts, which is what TikTok generally is. So, anyway, let's hear it. Let me know how the audio sounds.
Do you know what, is that a public park or is that a private?
Private.
Private. All right, well, we'll try to keep it short.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Yeah, of course. Oh my gosh, the struggles of LA, I swear. Okay, well, now that we're going, so thank you so much for meeting. First of all, I saw Seth Dillon today saying that you guys are no longer affiliated. What happened with there? I know that he invested in you early, was a huge supporter of you. What happened to that relationship?
Just parted ways.
For what reason?
Personal reasons.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What, you didn't align
Totally amicable. I love Seth.
Yeah.
He's a great mentor.
So why wouldn't you want him involved? Or, you know?
Seth Dillon, by the way, is the Babylon Bee, right? That's the guy who early on he promoted, and there was he had a partnership with Libs of TikTok for a period of time. They just recently, I guess, parted parted ways, and she's not gonna talk about it.
So why isn't he involved in the business anymore?
Just personal reasons. I'm not going to get into it.
Oh, okay. When did that sort of break off?
Recently.
So how many staffers? Tell me a little bit more about your organization.
We are a small team, just a couple people.
And it's all just...
And the shirt she's wearing has a picture of the interviewer, Taylor Lorenz, crying on it. I don't know why she would want to... I'm assuming that she's just here to troll. If you watch the interview, she's just going to obfuscate most of the time, but...
Distributed?
It's what?
It's all distributed, as in it's all remote, pretty much? Or do you guys have an office space?
It's remote, yeah.
Got it. So when did you start, I guess, what got you into all this? I've always wanted to ask you. I wrote about sort of the history of your Twitter account, but how did you get involved in politics?
If you watch any of my interviews, I talk about this all the time. But just, COVID radicalized me.
Yeah. In what way?
And they were like forcing us to wear masks and not letting us leave our homes. And, not letting us work and people losing their jobs.
So she definitely started off her career as like a COVID Karen, like in painting the COVID virus as a liberal conspiracy too, right? Like, oh, if you if you wear a mask, if you get vaccinated, you're just a liberal shill, right? That was her early on message before she shifted to more gender issues. So when she had all these previous accounts, that's a lot of what she talked about.
Jobs, and then people now forcing a vaccine, an experimental vaccine, people dying from the vaccine.
So how did that get you interested in LGBTQ issues?
It got me interested in politics, and then once I was interested in politics.
So, and just to be clear, coronavirus vaccine research goes back to the 1980s, at least, as far as I'm aware. Probably goes back much further than that, but I know most of the breakthroughs started happening in the 80s, so she doesn't know what she's talking about.
Politics, I stumbled upon this whole movement, and I was absolutely appalled by what I was seeing.
Appalled by what?
The radicalization of it, the way that they come after our most innocent and vulnerable population, or kids.
I had to check. 1965 is how far human coronavirus vaccine research goes. So, let me rewind this because I had to fact check everything she fucking says.
And vulnerable population.
And that was the point of contention when we talked about this last night. I sat down with Steph and Lena, and we were discussing this, and we watched a few minutes of it. But that was the point: is that if you do this, you're gonna have to stop every few seconds. Every time she opens her mouth, it's another lie.
Or kids. The way that it makes there's nothing logical about it. There's nothing logical about chopping off kids' body parts. There's nothing logical about giving kids porn in school.
What? And she's going to be really vague about chopping off body parts, and she's pressed about it. She's going to obfuscate. We're going to see that here in just a minute, but I wanted to clarify that that's not really a thing that's happening to minors, at least not minors under 16. And, this is, she lets her go on a little bit here, but there's some pushback.
There's two sexes, and that's it. So, anything out of that, it's just based on lies and nonsense.
Yeah. Did you grow up, I know you grew up in a sort of a...
So, I mean, she rejects modern psychology, which doesn't surprise me to say, like identity and things like that. Like in psychology, in sociology, identity is a very important concept. It controls how we interact with the people around us and how we anticipate the people around us to interact with us. That's your identity. I mean, there's a lot more to it than that, but just starting from that base point, she's saying that's nonsense. You have just different personalities.
More conservative community. Did you know any LGBTQ people growing up? What was your exposure to that community just in life prior to sort of understanding the world through politics?
I never really paid attention to it.
So you didn't have any LGBTQ friends or anything?
No.
Family members?
No.
So your first exposure to...
How is that not a fucking surprise? Not that anybody who had an LGBTQ identity would have confessed it to this bitch anyway. They wouldn't have, yeah, if she was in my life, I wouldn't tell her anything about my identity. I'd be like, keep your distance from me because she's kind of a creep. Oh.
The LGBTQ world was through basically learning about it through the media ecosystem.
Through themselves, actually. They would say exactly what their intentions are, what their whole movement is about. So I learned about it through watching their own videos.
Yeah. Well,
by their own videos, she means Zoomers finding their identities on TikTok, like kids finding, teenagers finding their identities. Her main thing is making fun of children for experimenting with weird stuff. And make no mistake, if she was back in the 80s, she'd be making fun of David Bowie. She'd be making fun of Kiss, making fun of all the hair bands. You know, if she had existed back in those periods, because she's conservative, because she's like extremely orthodox conservative. She's part of a religion where we're in LA, right? LA is warm, and you'll notice that she's wearing a jacket because her religion doesn't let her uncover her arms. So she's hyper religiously conservative, like extremely, and she thinks that should be the standard, and no one ever approaches her with that and says, do you think that your practice of covering yourself completely, just never having your arms or legs showing or anything, should be enforced by law? I would love to hear her answer to that.
I don't know. What sort of videos were you watching? I mean, are you just talking about the TikToks that you share and stuff?
And tons more on TikTok. It's all over TikTok.
Yeah.
Very easy to find.
Yeah. I'm curious, I feel like there's been, especially on, my colleagues have done great reporting on sort of like this rift on Twitter. I know that you have a very conservative fan base, and in your comments sometimes you'll see a lot of commentary about sort of the great replacement theory. What are your thoughts on that?
What are your thoughts on the comments on your post telling me to kill myself?
Horrible. Yeah, horrible. Obviously against that.
Right. So what's your thoughts on the great replacement theory? How do you feel about people telling me to kill myself? It's really, there's a lot of obfuscation in this. It's not really even like an interview. It's like an interrogation where she feels like, oh, I'm not gonna answer this without a lawyer or something. It's like, you agree to do an interview, you get a right. The only reason she got this interview is because Raichik has a right to it because of the reporting regarding the Oklahoma situation, right? That she has a legal right to this interview. And a legal right to it being presented uncut like this. That's why you don't see them fact-checking in between questions. Like when she gets to the bomb threat stuff and everything, she doesn't, she's in denial about it, but we can go and look and say, yes, all of these bomb threats are directly related to, you post, bomb threat comes in. You post, bomb threat comes in. It's correlation for sure, and too much correlation to overlook.
Yeah.
So will you come out and condemn that publicly?
Oh, I would condemn it anytime. I'm against murdering anyone, of course.
So you're against death threats against me?
I'm a big, as somebody that's dealt with a lot of online harassment, I don't defend threatening to murder anyone. But I guess I'm curious,
because a lot of
anti-death threats, 100% anti-death threats is probably the best way to be. Including you should condemn death threats in the people making death threats, because, hell, I might get death threats for covering this. I don't know.
Sometimes it comes after an attack in the media, like someone like you or another journalist.
So are you saying that, if somebody posts something and then attacks follow, that person should answer for those attacks?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying that
She got her right there. That's literally your whole shtick. Let's hear that again. She backs right out of that.
In the media, like someone like you or another journalist.
So are you saying that, if somebody posts something and then attacks follow, that person should answer for those attacks?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying that people like you tell me that all the time, so I'm just asking if you think the same thing.
Yeah, I don't think I have said that here, but I think it's kind of interesting, I guess, in the conservative movement, there's this ideology around sort of white nationalism, which is obviously kind of a hardline ideology that's generally been pretty critical of Jewish communities. And I'm wondering, as a Jewish woman, how do you feel about sort of aligning yourself with those people and accounts? You see this sort of rhetoric in your replies. And I only bring it up, I'm not saying that that you necessarily endorse that rhetoric. I would imagine that you don't. But how do you kind of think about those nuances when you're thinking about kind of the audience that you're building?
Yeah. How do you feel about the anti-Semitism in your in response to your post as a Jewish woman?
Some of your audience says we should chop off kids' body parts. What do you think about that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Like a girl says she wants to be a boy, so she chops off her breasts.
I'm a big, I believe in personal liberty and bodily autonomy.
So, like, overwhelmingly, almost exclusively, because the how marginalized trans people are, breast reduction surgeries are performed on cis women, and when they're done on teenagers, it's cis teenagers, right? Any kind of breast augmentation that's done on teenagers is overwhelmingly done on cis teenagers, right? Like overwhelmingly, like if you look at statistics, we could look at statistics, but yeah, why don't we look at statistics? Yeah, more teens get breast implants than trans top surgeries. According to 2019 study, so this is a little bit old information, might have changed, 79% of breast surgeries are cosmetic, while 21% are feminizing top surgeries. In 2020, 3,200 girls between the age of 18 and 19 received cosmetic breast implants. Yeah, so it's not something just happening with trans people. They just want to, they need it to be presented that way.
Personally,
so kids should be able to cut off their breasts if they think that they're boys.
I mean, I believe in gender ideology. I guess I personally, my
so gender ideology is not really. It's not really. That's. I don't agree with Taylor conceding their language here as far as saying gender ideology. I agree with gender ideology, but I assume she's saying I agree with what you call gender ideology, and not actually saying I agree that gender ideology is an actual ideology and not just transgender people existing. So, again, if someone wants a breast reduction, that's something they should have access to for any reason. If their breasts give them dysphoria, whether they're cis or trans, and they talk to a psychologist, and the psychologist is like, yes, you could benefit from this breast augmentation, whether it's smaller breast, no breast, bigger breast, whatever that person needs to be able to function, and feel healthy and confident as a member of our society. We should try to provide that. We should try to make sure everybody feels healthy and confident as possible, as much as we can supply it in our society. We just need to do that. Let me catch up on some comments here because I think I'm a bit behind. Let's see here. Yes, they should at least go take a few courses at a local community college and learn something about journalistic ethics, inverted pyramid style, and the fact that you're not supposed to hide bias as much as humanly possible. Oh, like having your followers call, threats. Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to read all that, for obvious reasons, but there's nothing logical about her freaking thought process. That's what. I don't think any kid is finding their identity on TikTok. I think they're reaching out and finding other people like them for comfort and validation. Raichik is why I'm an accelerationist. The tenuous piece is the only thing keeping her alive. Right? It's like revolution time. But yeah, I don't think anybody's actually. I don't think anybody's finding their identity on TikTok. I think that the people on TikTok that there are people on TikTok who are finding their identity, though. I kind of found my identity on YouTube, so I'm not going to shame anybody. I mean, like was able to find a community where I was comfortable enough to come out and all that, you know. Let's see. I honestly think that this woman suffers from extreme self-loathing and internalized bigotry, and she's turned into a pure rage machine. Statistics in college course, got an A+, but I remember none. Yeah. Statistics was the only math course I actually liked. I'm sure she would have a lot of foul things to say about cis people getting breast augmentations too. I swear this woman is pure foulness, says Sumami. And that's exactly what she's doing. She should not be sharing this planet's air for the exact same reason we stopped Julius Streicher from breathing with no Wi-Fi. Hell, we're going to banish her to space with no Wi-Fi. Let her tweet to herself.
The feeling is that I believe in personal liberty. I grew up in a town where a lot of people, for their middle school graduation, women got nose jobs. I knew somebody that got a boob job at age 14. And I guess
I tell that same story about when I was in school, you know, that there were girls that I went to school with when we graduated junior high, when they started freshman year in high school, they didn't have the same noses, or sometimes some of them had breast implants, or some of them did have breast reductions too. I don't think any of them have breast reductions coming into freshman year, but between freshman and senior year, I know several girls who did, because sometimes boobs get too big and it hurts your back, and you want to just get them taken down. Sometimes just make you more comfortable, make you be able to get around a little easier.
I struggle to kind of understand the criticism when there's certainly no criticism of that sort of thing, right? But then there's criticism of this other sort of gender affirming, stuff. So
you're comparing a boy being allowed to chop off his penis to a teenage girl getting a nose job?
So let's make sure we pin her down on the claim that she just made. A boy wanting to chop off his penis. A child. She's claiming that children are getting the young boys are getting their penises chopped off. I don't think that that's happening. I don't think anybody under the age of 18 who wasn't born with ambiguous genitalia is generally getting approved for any kind of genitalia surgery. I don't think it's happening. She'd make a great Mars colonist with Elon as their leader. Oh yeah, she's gonna. If you want to see some Elon wanking, that's gonna happen. But we're just getting started in this thing. I'm watching the whole thing, no matter how long it takes. I'm gonna be I'm gonna be exhausted by the end of this, but we're gonna get through it. I love boobs, but I don't want anyone to suffer pain and discomfort, right? So you want people to be happy and comfortable in their body. No one's chasing kids around with scissors. Yeah, so what they have the idea of is a elementary school teacher / drag queen with a giant pair of scissors chasing little boys around in the girls' bathroom. It's that's really, that's what they have in their head.
But just to be extra clear, I don't believe that 13-year-olds are able to make those sort of medical decisions.
Minors are, yeah.
Oh, really? And where?
Yeah. Children's National Hospital in D.C.
Now, Children's National Hospital in the D.C. So let's go. Penis removal in minor. She talking about pediatric circumcision? Because they do pediatric circumcision. I bet she's all in favor of that, though. I can't imagine that she would be opposed to circumcision. Is that what she's referring to? Because that's the only thing I see here for Children's National Hospital in Washington as far as genitals and surgery for boys. I didn't type anything biased, and I typed in Children's National Hospital, DC, penis removal in minors. But if we go back and play, I bet she's not even going to talk about penises anymore. I bet she's going to flip the script to say, "Oh, I'm talking about breasts now." Keep up, right? Because she doesn't have any answer for that.
Give 16-year-olds hysterectomies.
Oh, 16-year-olds.
They gave me that. They told me that directly. They said 16 girls and younger. That's what they said. So hysterectomies. There are definitely minors. I know for sure as young as 12 who are getting double mastectomies.
So, and we fact checked this one last night. There is no one at the Children's Hospital in Washington that is authorizing hysterectomies for children. That's not something that's actually happening for minor children. It is something that the hospital itself, the hospital itself is not equipped to even do. When this was researched, the lid was blown off this, and she's doubling down on it, right? That this is not something that's happening at that hospital. This has been reported on. We read it last night. I'm trying to find the report now. I had it. Yeah, none of the people that were secretly recorded by this activist group deliver care to our patients. Yeah, so they were talking to people who weren't even part of the patient care process about what services they offer, and trying to get people who don't know what they're talking about to say things that they don't know.
They definitely allow vaginoplasties for minors. And phalloplasties. I'm not aware of a specific case of a minor, but they allow 18-year-olds.
Yeah, which
they allow 18-year-olds. So what are you talking about? You're talking about children. Now it's 18-year-old. Now it's consenting adults. Suddenly it goes from 13-year-old child chopping their penises off to children getting hysterectomies and mastectomies to now they're 18 years old. You went there just within 30 seconds of this conversation, you tumbled down that hill of making a claim and then totally reeling it completely back in to adults getting surgeries like mastectomies and hysterectomies.
Oh, okay, 18-year-olds, you're an adult. But let's just get back to the great replacement stuff, because I'm curious, what are your thoughts on that whole ideology?
I mean, how many... There were times that... there were some months over the past 3 years that there were more illegals coming into our border than children being born in the U.S.
Why is that bad? Why is that a conspiracy that someone's actively trying to do that, right? Yeah, right. Oh no, not consenting adults. Won't anybody think of the adults making grown-up decisions about their body? Oh no. So... Oh, she can't open her mouth without, I literally lost my place because making fun of the adults.
You're an adult, but let's just get back to the great replacement stuff, because
what
are your thoughts on that?
What is wrong with more people coming in through immigration than people being born within the country? Why is that bad? What is the problem with that? And also, why is that not the natural migration and intermingling of people that's been going on for 30,000 years on this planet? 30,000 years now, people have been wandering over the face of this earth, migrating and settling in different areas for tens of thousands of years. Now it's all of a sudden a problem. Now all of a sudden people can't migrate anymore. Now all of a sudden people can't settle anymore. I mean, obviously this has been going on for thousands of years too, where people are like, oh, this is my land, that's my land. That's what the Bible is all about. It's a divine right to land is the central core message of that book. So it doesn't surprise me at all that these people think that it's okay to be against the intermingling of people groups, even though she's not Christian. But I know even though Jesus was like super pro-immigrant. I think the Old Testament too has a verse that says treat the immigrant in your land as you would your brother or something like that. Someone find that verse for me. I love you guys.
That whole ideology.
I mean, how many? There were times that there were some months over the past 3 years that there were more illegals coming into our border than children being born in the U.S. Does that not look like they're trying to replace us?
I guess sort of imagine America as...
They're just, because they're, that's what, I tell you what, when I bet every time that a person with a a darker complexion than vanilla bean ice cream has sex, they're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make a baby to replace a white person. That's what they're thinking about. They're not just thinking about I want to have intimacy with my partner, or even that I want to reproduce and create offspring with this person because I love them. No, they're thinking about replacing you, Chaya. That's their goal. They want to replace you. They're nothing else.
Population.
A melting pot. Isn't that sort of what America was founded
No,
on?
but they're actually bringing in more people than are actually being born.
So I guess it sounds like you sort of do ascribe to this theory of the Great Replacement.
Ooh, Lena's on it. Thank you, baby girl. Let's see. Treat foreigners, refugees as citizens and with love. Most Christians know Jesus' instructions to love your neighbor as yourself, but maybe not be aware of the Mosaic Law has the same instruction. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, the Mosaic Law about that. For how to treat a foreigner that commands you treat them as a native born would have been shocking to the people in Moses' day. Yeah, let's see. An Entropy fan says, also, this person doesn't like the original European Christian settlers, nor a Native American. So her ancestors are so obviously migrated into an already existing U.S. of A. Oh yeah, she's of Jewish ancestry. I don't know when her family settled here, but yeah.
How does that?
I just look at the facts and the numbers.
Well, so I mean, just let's give a corollary, right? A lot of Jewish people fled, Europe, came over here also as immigrants. And there's a lot of criticism towards Jewish people in those movements, in those far-right movements. So I'm just wondering, as a Jewish woman, sort of how you feel about that and your role in cultivating this fan base that might think of you as a minority, an outsider.
Not all cultures are equal. Yeah.
So I know you have a lot of concerns about.
So I think she's leaning into the whole evangelical. The whole evangelical and Israel marriage that's going on right now, thinking that that's going to protect her as a Jewish woman, but only for so long, only till they've burned through. Only until they've burned through the rest of the minorities. So, not all cultures are equal. Well, I want to hear that again, but that was that the first blatantly racist thing so far? I'm trying to keep up, but mostly I've been focusing on the trans stuff, and I keep forgetting she's a flaming racist too.
Education are equal as a minority, an outsider.
Not all cultures are equal. Yeah.
So.
And keep in mind, she's saying that to a Hispanic journalist.
I know you have a lot of concerns about educational materials and books, library books and things, especially.
They're importing people who want to destroy America, and who come here and do not.
So this is definitely the conspiracy theory, right? It's like down to the bone, the conspiracy theory of the Great Replacement. She's leaning heavily into that. We are going full. Yes, the Great Replacement is real. They are actively trying to put people into the U.S. who want to destroy America. It's completely unhinged, right? It's completely off the deep end. We're not playing with a logical or rational mind here, right? She's got everything in her brain is a conspiracy. Somebody is pulling the string. Like when two people who aren't white reproduce, she believes that they're like actively being like, yes, we're going to reproduce to replace the white people in the U.S.
Stand for what America stands for. So, and I think, and we see it. There's time after time after time after
What if I don't think Chaya stands for what America stands for?
time. They come in, they're destroying our cities, they bring crime with them, and they are bringing them in to replace us. And
who is the they? Is the they? Use your words. I'm imagining the they could be a lot of different organizations, but most of those, the they ends up being a Jewish person. What are you going to do with that, Chaya?
yeah, I think people from various countries, they're all different.
So just back to the sort of education stuff, I know that you're interested in removing a bunch of books from libraries that you consider inappropriate. I was just wondering, out of all the books that you've sort of tried to get removed, how many have you read?
I've read a couple of them.
Which ones?
The woman is in charge of the vetting books for the Oklahoma Board of Library Board. So she's only read a couple of the books, though. Only a couple that she's tried to ban. She's only read a couple, and she's in charge of banning them.
I'm genderqueer. I've read This Book is Gay. I've read Flamer. I've read, what were some of the other ones? My Shadow is Pink.
So basically, she's saying that queer people are not allowed to write young adult books about their experience as a queer person. Because if they're queer, then it's pornography. Because, I mean, when I was in school, we read My Darling, My Hamburger. That was a pretty graphic book that involved sex between teenagers. It involved pregnancy, and it was very, very graphic. We read The Color Purple, which opens with a pretty graphic rape scene. Exposing kids to what sexual trauma is, what sexual harassment is, what human boundaries are, how to act responsibly in a relationship, when things get intimate, about STDs, about different things that might happen to them. That's what she gets into this big thing about anal sex. But you need to know that if someone's... We'll get there when we get there.
It feels good to be yourself. There's so many more. Tons of them.
How do you kind of swear? Would you say, I feel like you are, or at least I feel like you've spoken about free speech before and the need for free speech and sort of supported Elon Musk's sentiments in that area. Would you say that you're a free speech supporter?
Yeah.
So how do you square the sort of being this free speech supporter with wanting to ban literature?
What kind of literature?
Any kind of literature. I mean, I would think that...
Children's books that deal with being a member of the LGBTQ community as you grow up. Yeah.
What kind of literature am I trying to ban?
Oh, I thought you were just trying to say you made an effort to get books removed from schools.
What kind of books?
You just listed them.
Dealing with LGBTQ people and sexual
No, that's
education.
not what I said.
Oh, so you're not trying to get any books banned from school?
That's not what I said either.
Okay, why don't you explain to me how you're thinking about this?
She just read off a list of books and said that these are books she's actively trying to get removed that are just books. They're not pornography. They're not meant to be read as stimulating entertainment. They are literally written to talk about safety in relationships. They're written to talk about acceptance of people who are different than you. They are written to open your eyes to certain risks in reality. And the ones that we read, again, they had messages like that too about safe sex, or my darling, my hamburger had some abstinence propaganda included too. But
Accuse me of wanting to ban books. What kind of books am I trying to ban?
You tell me.
I'm not trying to ban anything.
But you're not trying to ban any books.
Who said I'm trying to ban books?
Are you trying to remove books from
You just listed a whole bunch of books.
libraries?
From public school libraries.
Okay. So how do you square your sort of notion of free speech and free expression and allowing all of that stuff with wanting literature removed and wanting access to information removed?
What kind of literature?
You tell me.
Porn. Gay porn. Yeah.
And what do you consider gay porn in these books?
So you want to see it?
Are you trying?
Anytime that a character is gay in a book and has a relationship, that's gay porn. Anytime that if it's implied that in a young adult book that two heterosexual teens had intercourse, they're okay with it. You don't see any of that being banned because there's so many young adult books that have relationships and sexual innuendo, what you would call cis straight propaganda. Like Harry Potter has cis straight propaganda in it, right? Multiple cases of it. So it only matters when it's a queer person. That's when Shia has a problem with. That's when she says it's porn. It becomes porn when there's a trans person involved.
About the stuff that you tweeted, basically, you consider
Yeah,
it
like there's
inappropriate.
pictures of like blowjobs and like how to have gay sex with like naked people and people masturbating and stuff. Yeah,
Did you?
like pictures of it.
Oh,
Yeah.
totally. And
Yeah.
I went to public school, and we had a sex ed class in public school where we were shown, information about sexual health and.
Right. Shia does not know about that, though. She does not know that it's completely normal to have to show young adults and teenagers the body parts and the way that they interact with each other and things like that. We watched birth videos when I was in sex ed, like real birth videos with the women parts right in front of your face as a baby came out. Yes, that was approved in our curriculum. In Missouri, of all places. Kind of wild. I think it was more directed towards trying to give us the abstinence only, no, it was shown to us for anti-abortion purposes. That's my thoughts on it. But still, they showed it to us, right? But Chaya didn't have that kind of upbringing. She was raised, homeschooled or something, because she did not have comprehensive sex ed or even uncomprehensive sex ed, and it shows.
Sex and masturbation and things like that. I'm curious about your own education. I mean, was that something did you ever go to a sex ed class, or is this all sort of new to you, where you're sort of learning about how this works in public schools?
I don't live under a rock.
So you did have sex ed classes when you were growing up?
We had some kind of education, yeah.
So you do think it's important for children to have
Some kind of education. What kind of education was that, Chaya? Was it biblical? One man and one woman when they get married and all that stuff? And that's all it was? You'll figure it out once you're in bed with your life mate?
have education, sex education?
Not the way they're doing it in public schools.
How are they doing it?
They're giving kids porn and telling third graders that they should masturbate.
Where are you telling third graders they should masturbate? You're such a liar. Where is this happening? Why do you gotta lie? Why you always lying? Why the fuck you lying?
They're giving middle school children guides to gay sex and anal sex, sex toys.
How would you?
That's part of that's what I was gonna get to. When we did our sex ed classes, it was in the 90s, like right after the AIDS scare. I think she's gonna say this too, but learning about gay sex and having safe gay sex was important because some people are gay. You know that, right? That gay people exist. So if we're gonna have sex ed, we need to have sex ed. It's not straight sex ed, gay sex ed too.
Do you describe the type of sex education that you would like to see in schools?
At this point, I want all sex education actually removed from schools because I don't trust the schools to do it.
Okay.
After what we
All sex ed removed from school, all of it, because she doesn't understand it and she wants to keep the kids from understanding it, right? I don't understand sex ed and I don't want the children to understand it.
we've seen, I don't trust them at all. Zero. We need to completely eradicate it and then redo it in a normal way that's appropriate.
So I saw you said that you got banned from Stripe today. How much money did you have tied up in that platform?
I'm not going to get into that. Mm-hmm. They already restored me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're back.
Yeah, because she went crying to Elon Musk about it. That's why they restored you. You literally cried to Daddy about it, and that's how you got your Stripe account restored. Don't sugarcoat it like it was some mistake. They were done with you, and you said, "Hey, Elon," and he moved in and changed things.
I noticed, I think it was around last summer, you deleted a lot of your tweets and you kind of stopped posting. This is when Seth Dillon kind of tweeted, asking if you fell off or, saying that you weren't posting as you used to. What happened during that time, and did you think about quitting?
I have no idea, and no, I never thought about quitting.
Mm-hmm. Why'd you delete all your old posts?
It was just a one-time editorial decision. I stand by all my posts.
So, just to be clear right now, because we're verifying that, hey, Chaya, are you okay with deleting your post? So she's okay with deleting her post. Definitely okay with deleting her post. Oh. Yeah, LOL, not porn, just gay porn, right? Kalasia, it's a picture of Taylor Lorenz crying. Yeah, it's what's on her shirt. And yeah, she does have just like ready at her disposal. She will show her phone porn to Taylor before the end of the interview. She will say, "Hey, look at my porn" before this is over. So we'll see it. No worries. Hey, Tux, good to see ya. Happy you're here, Steph, as well. Good morning. Cracking this open early. I couldn't hold back. I finished watching it this morning, and after our conversation last night, I did do a whole big disclaimer at the beginning showing who Taylor was. I read her first interaction when Shia Raichik was exposed as the curator of Libs of TikTok. I read that article to the Hive first. So, and yeah, I do have a Discord. The Hive is on Discord. I can send you an invite. Lena, you're in Pocket Lockers, so I can send that to you after the show, or one of my peeps can.
You know, I guess speaking of deleting posts, you still have a post up accusing the Uvalde shooter of being trans. Obviously, that's been debunked.
Yeah, there's a community note on it.
So why not remove that post if you're so comfortable with removing posts?
Because there's a community note. I think it's clear. It's obviously it was unintentional.
You need to redact it then. If you know what journalistic integrity is.
There was a watermark on it. It was from a meme, an account that was going around. And I'm glad there's a community note so people know that.
Do you believe if, say, a journalist posts something factually incorrect or wrong, especially about someone else, if somebody was to say something factually wrong about you, do you believe they should remove that, or do you think they should be able to keep that content up?
Twitter is free speech. People lie about me all the time on there, and they don't get taken down. If you want.
But you're claiming to be a journalist. You have a higher expectation of your integrity than some Joe Blow off the street who doesn't have any audience at all. You are claiming to be a journalist. You've registered your account as a journalist account. You have every responsibility to follow a code of journalistic integrity and ethics. But I think that hopefully that someone like someone steps in and sees what you're doing and the harm you're causing. But
it has to go both ways.
So you believe that people should be allowed to keep up wrong information about you and have no recourse, be able to keep that up?
Free speech is free speech.
Okay, so I'm kind of curious how you square that with the letter that you sent this morning to V Sphere, claiming that you were going to try to sue her for slander. If free speech is free speech, then why are you threatening your critics with lawsuits?
Well, defamation is different.
So would you call misidentifying a shooter's sexuality defamation?
No, I wouldn't. Like I said, there's already a community note on it, so I'm glad that people now.
And you admit that it's.
You need to take accountability, though. It doesn't matter if there's a community note. You need to take accountability and say, I spread misinformation about this, because otherwise, people just need to know you're an agent of misinformation, Chaya.
Wrong, right? It was the Uvalde
and I wasn't the creator of that image.
Sure, but you can imagine if somebody amplified wrong information.
The media, like Washington Post and other places, they lie all the time. They're never held accountable. They never remove it. They lie and lie and lie. So I am not gonna. If you want to hold me to that level, then I get to hold you to that level as well, and all the other media. So I just don't think.
So what is the media lying about you? How is the media lying about you, though? They say, hey. The statistics show that every time that you tweet about one of these people, we get bomb threats, we get murder threats, we get death threats, we get harassment. Every time you do this, we see this. It's a trend that we're tracking. You're like, why are you lying about me? It's not a lie, Chaya. This is what's happening when you post. Oh.
I think it's not accurate to compare it, because.
Was the Uvalde shooter trans?
The Uvalde shooter wasn't trans.
Got it. And so I guess knowing that you posted wrong information, you're saying it should stay up and everybody else should be allowed to keep whatever they have up as well. Is that sort of your stance? Am I accurately understanding it?
Is there a law against?
No, not asking law. I'm just
lying?
asking your personal sort of opinion. I'm just kind of curious because it seems like you have come after other people, such as vSphere and other critics, saying you posted wrong information about me, take it down. I totally get that. That's your prerogative.
It's different with defaming a journalist like that.
It's different when it's me. When I say it about other people, they can put up a community note if it's wrong. It's not my problem. It's about me, though. They can't just say whatever they want about me. I'm a journalist now. Oh, you're a journalist, so you subscribe to a journalistic code of ethics, do you? No, you don't.
They're defaming me.
And you don't think that calling a shooter trans when they weren't trans is defaming anyone?
No.
Okay, interesting. I guess
They're knowingly lying about me.
You knowingly lie about them. The people when you leave that post up after you find out that's not true, every person who reads that post has been lied to by you. And when you say there's a community notes, your audience trusts you more than they trust the community notes. So you have a responsibility to take that down, to take it down and to redact it, to show some integrity there for your audience, to show that you can be a trusted journalist, but you're not. You're trash.
And what would you say that you did when you sort of posted that about the shooter being trans?
Like I said, an image that was going around for months that I shared from another thing accidentally, and I'm glad there's a community note on it.
I know you come from a more traditional family and sort of a more traditional culture. What is your family and think of your success? You've made a huge career for yourself. You're obviously a rising star in conservative media. How's that affected your interpersonal relationships?
I'm not going to get personal. My personal relationships.
Yeah. How's it affected your life? I mean, just dealing with this sort of fame relatively overnight.
So, thanks in partly to you, there's been a lot of death threats, a lot of really nasty messages.
Thanks to her, and not you, not the things that you do and the things that you put out. That's not what people are upset about. It's not that you're causing death threats and bomb threats and terrorism. That's when it bounces back at you. When you get that splashback, that's the problem, right? You want the government to protect you from splashback for your own crimes.
But you seem kind of proud about the press that you've received. I mean, your profile picture is holding up a newspaper with you in the headline.
Yeah, a newspaper where they just basically lied about me. I thought it's funny that they just continue to make up these lies and libels.
You've gotten even if you discount the main
lies and libel, right? You are liable, Chaya, for saying the Uvalde shooter was trans, for saying that any of these shooters are trans when they're not, for saying that any of these teachers are grooming children when they're not. That is libel. Good, you understand what the word means.
Mainstream media, and just talk about the conservative media. I think your platform has risen pretty significantly. What changes has it had on you? I mean, I cover the content creator industry, and I've seen a lot of people go from sort of a very low-key life, which I would imagine you're living before, to a massive amount of attention and, money and powerful people around you. How has that affected you?
Like I said, some safety issues.
And it gives you no personal reflection on what you've done to other people when you think about that. When it's thrown at you and you're dealing with it and you're struggling to live your life with this hate thrown at you, and you cannot take that and internalize it and reflect back and say, hey, maybe I should stop doing this to other people.
In part thanks to you and to some other members of the media. But I'm not going to get into my personal life.
Oh, no, not about your personal life. I'm just wondering about your career aspirations. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
We'll see. You can make all the plans you want, and God could decide something else.
So you don't have any sort of 5-year plan, 10-year plan?
I mean, I have plans, but nothing I'm going to share.
I'm curious, if Trump was reelected, would you be interested in a job with his administration?
Maybe.
Who are you supporting in the election?
There's one candidate, Trump. Yeah.
Will you be campaigning?
There's one candidate, the criminal, the rapist, the convicted rapist. That's who she's voting for. Because, she's about protecting children, even that 13-year-old girl that Donald Trump spent some time with on Epstein's Island. Even that child Was she protected? Was Trump wasn't grooming her, was he? He wasn't grooming her by violently forcing him.
On his behalf?
We'll see.
Would you prefer? I mean, are you hoping to kind of? I guess would you see yourself in DC?
I haven't made any plans yet.
How did you get connected with Oklahoma, the state of Oklahoma, and how many times have you been to that state?
I was there once. They have, unfortunately, a lot of wokeness in their red state.
What is wokeness? She's been to Oklahoma one time, y'all, so she needs to be on their education board.
And I'm trying to help.
How'd you originally how'd Oklahoma get on your radar as opposed to some others?
Because I started posting about the stuff going on in schools there, like I do across the country. And then, people were very upset that this was happening in their schools.
By people, she means Superintendent Ryan Walters. This is who she means by people here. Because the population didn't have, the people didn't have any say over this. He appointed her.
So, and you've been once. What do you think qualifies you to be on the board or, have to do with education, the education system there? Being that I don't believe you have children in the Oklahoma schools, you don't live in Oklahoma, you've only been once. How does that qualify you to sort of serve in that capacity?
What are the qualifications that they require to be on this committee?
USA Today reported on that, but I believe it was that you had to, I might get it wrong, but I think you have to be some sort of educator. You have to have worked as an educator.
Okay, I was a teacher once.
You were?
Yeah.
Okay. So you feel like that qualifies you to sort of inform policies in Oklahoma?
That's scary, right? She was a teacher once. That's freaking terrifying.
I wasn't aware of any kind of qualifications that they require. I don't believe they require any qualifications.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was thinking more even just informally. But that makes sense. I guess, speaking of Oklahoma, obviously we saw the tragic death of Nex, a young child.
Tragic.
I'm curious about your reaction. You posted a selfie shortly after people were asking you to address the issue, and you said, to the haters and the losers. Who are you addressing in that statement?
Anyone who hates me and anyone who's a loser.
Okay. Why would you choose to post that in response to people asking you to speak about this child's death?
It was not a response to that.
I guess, why would you post that prior to making any statement about Nex's death?
So, just to be clear, you're trying to police me on when I'm allowed to post selfies?
No, just curious.
I wanted to post it. I thought it was a cute picture, and I just decided to post it.
How do you feel about Nex's death?
It's very tragic. It's horrible.
And she's going to take zero responsibility and say that my rhetoric and legislation I help support in this school and the precedents that I'm setting for what's acceptable for our students and them to be able to see and interact with resulted in the death of a child. And I'm not going to take any responsibility whatsoever for it.
Do you believe Nex should have been allowed to receive gender-affirming care?
She should not be allowed to go on irreversible puberty blockers or get sex change surgery.
How do you think about the fact that, so often your posts, things that you post about hospitals, libraries, schools, etc., after you make these posts about them, they deal with threats, sometimes bomb threats, sometimes harassment?
We don't know who's calling in the threats.
You post about it, right? No threats, right? No threats coming in. You post about it on Libs of TikTok. Suddenly, dozens of threats come in. Okay, that's coincidence, right? Well, maybe something else happened. We don't know. We can't correlate it. So you post about something else, right? You post about another hospital or school. They were going to get any threats before. Now they're getting threats. Dozens of them. No, that was just another coincidence. Weird, right? That happened twice in a row. Third time, right? School's not getting any threats. Right? You post about it. Suddenly there's dozens of threats coming in. Okay? So, please understand how statistics work.
And, look, bomb threats are bad. I've said that 1,000 times. People calling bomb threats should be arrested and investigated. You can't call in bomb threats. But I just don't know what does it have to do with.
Well, I guess, a recent NBC investigation found at least 33 instances where you posted about a specific person or institution, and that person or institution was immediately bombarded with death threats and violent threats, including bomb threats, other violent threats. That's a pretty significant correlation. How do you, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't know if you saw, but I got tons of death threats. The past.
But what about me? Yeah, because people are mad at me. People are so intolerant of my intolerance. People are so quick to send death threats my way for the death threats that I had sent their way. This is like, can Charles Manson use this defense? Can Charles Manson say, I didn't touch anybody, these girls did it all? Because he didn't do any. He merely suggested that these people needed to die. He didn't give the order or anything, or he didn't get his hands dirty.
This week, after the entire media machine came after me, so are they responsible for those?
I don't think that there's the same correlation. Are you receiving bomb threats?
I'm receiving death threats, like, hi, I'm going to come murder you.
Yeah, and I definitely sympathize with you there.
Like,
I get those
literally,
every day.
The article goes live, and then I get those threats.
I get the same thing when a Fox News article goes live.
So the article about you causing threats to children to be called in is causing threats to be called in to you, and you're blaming the people that are complaining about you reporting for the threats. It's like she has no self-awareness whatsoever.
So is the journalist responsible? The journalist who posted the article?
I would say, there's a different responsibility when we're talking about media. And I guess to me, a death threat is different than a violent bomb threat. A death threat, I think we're kind of getting normalized to them, unfortunately, online. We get a lot of them, probably.
Al Trucker, unfortunately, this whole thing's been whataboutism so far. Chaya does not know what any kind of integrity is. Ain't that the truth? Taking responsibility for your actions is the disconnect, yeah? I don't think she's taken any kind of responsibility. She was never a teacher. Too many lies went undetected. She has too much self-awareness. She knows she's lying, right? Yeah, she is lying, and she knows she's lying. She's a fucking real estate agent. If she had any teaching experience at all, it would have been like as a substitute teacher or something.
You and I get them constantly, 24/7. I'm wondering kind of how you think about taking these obscure people, right? Because you and I are both public figures, and I imagine you and I we have a high tolerance, right, for what we can handle online. Say you're taking a private citizen, a gay teacher, for instance, in a small town, and you post about that person, and then that person subsequently, who had no media presence prior, receives pretty violent threats. How does that make you feel?
We need to answer the question first, though. Is the journalist responsible for actions that have to happen after?
So you consider sort of your posts about private citizens, incendiary posts, you consider that journalism?
I'm an independent journalist.
Uh-huh. And do you think that there's a difference between doing journalism on a completely private figure that has no public presence?
An independent journalist with no integrity, something in the vein of Alex Jones, Nick Fuentes.
And no institutional power versus reporting on a powerful public institution or person?
You still didn't answer the question. Is the journalist responsible for reporting for any actions that happen after the reporting?
Personally, I think that journalists should take care and should consider sort of the framing, and I think that they should do their best not to appear as if they encourage that sort of behavior. I've noticed that you haven't necessarily publicly condemned that behavior, publicly told your supporters, listen guys, stop calling in these bomb threats.
Who said it's my followers? Do you have information that it's my followers?
I guess who else's followers would it be?
I don't know.
So
there's 300 million people in this country.
So there she goes. She's saying, literally, she explained to her that this person, not a public figure, in the private sphere, living their life, no bomb threats. You post about them, bomb threats. Again and again and again. And you're still going to be like, I don't know if it's anything to do with me. I don't know what I'm doing. Just again, these people are just living their lives, not doing anything wrong. Just being gay and working at a fucking school is enough to get you targeted by this woman.
Post, bomb threats follow, and you're saying it might be just unrelated people?
I have no idea. We don't know who it is.
Have you taken steps to find out?
We filed some FOIAs with police departments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What have you found?
We haven't gotten anything useful yet that we can use. But actually, one of them, we know it's like some foreign actor, not even from the country. So who knows who it is?
Yeah. It seems like Twitter is your main platform these days, although I know you've been posting on Rumble. How much money have you made from the platform?
It's personal.
Mm-hmm. Is that what sort of portion of your revenue is based on Twitter as opposed to other platforms?
That's personal. So speaking of Twitter, do you regret not getting a blue check? Because then you can make tons of money.
No, I don't monetize online.
You don't monetize?
Yeah, I don't. If I was an independent journalist, maybe, but I'm not. I don't monetize on any of my social platforms. I noticed you sort of, speaking of the media, you change your approach.
She's selling her freaking Elon's blue check marks. Elon's blue check marks are gross. Nobody wants to be touched by an Elon blue check mark.
Recently, or at least it seems like you're being a little bit more antagonistic towards the media and a little bit more forceful in the way that you speak about the media. What led to that change?
Being lied about and defamed for 2.5 years.
I guess what led to, I would assume you felt like that for quite a while. What led you to sort of change the way that you speak about the media, or the sort of...
Well, their attacks were ramping up. So, like I said, the lies and the defamation, the hypocrisy.
If you eradicate transgenderism, which I believe you suggested in a post today.
No, I never suggested that.
Oh, okay. You reposted a post that was advocating for that. What would happen to
you? Signal boosted it literally, and you're like, she's literally retweeted it, said, "This is what I'm saying. Transgenderism needs to be eradicated." That's the thumbnail right there, baby.
People that have already medically, socially, completely transitioned and are leading happy lives. What would happen to them? I mean, what's your plan for that? If transgenderism doesn't exist, which it seems like that's what you believe, what happens to all the people living happy lives as trans people?
Well, first of all, the whole trans it's based on a lie. You can't change your gender.
Okay, but
so they could go live their life. I mean,
you can't. She says that because she doesn't know what gender is. That's why she says you can't change your gender, because she has no idea what she's talking about.
I can't tell someone what to do in their house.
Sounds like you do want to tell people what to do in their house.
I never said that.
So you're totally okay with people...
So we literally have people making TikTok videos at their house about their queer identities, and you post them on your thing.
Being trans, just not as long as they're in public.
No, I never said that. They could... the whole thing is based off of a lie, and I think that this lie cannot be mainstream in our society. It's a lie.
And what harm is it causing, do you believe? You
feel like it's a lie because you don't have that lived experience, because your identity does match up with your assigned sex. That they do line up for you, and it makes you feel comfortable, and probably it seems totally out of cuff for someone to not line up for other people. But that doesn't mean you get to deny their experience just because you haven't experienced yourself. That's called personal incredulity, and it's not doing anybody any favors, and you sound like a dunce when you present that as your argument.
I like the truth. I like truth.
Right, but I'm saying, what's the harm of people expressing their gender identity?
But you just said that God says you never know what God's going to come to plan for you. Did that, you like that truth?
Differently than you believe it to be. What harm are they causing?
Like I said, we are a nation of truth, and I seek the truth.
But I'm asking about the harm. What's the harm? You might believe it to be false, but what's the
harm is that there's a lie that is very mainstream and is being embedded into every institution.
I guess I'm wondering what the material harm is, aside from its...
And that is you just disagreeing with the experts on the topic, though, with the people who actually study gender and do identity research, and people who work in psychology and sociology who have built these frameworks upon which our understanding of how humanity interacts is built. And you're like, nope, I don't believe in that. I think it's just everybody has different, there's sex, and then everybody has different personalities, and you think that just blows it down. It doesn't. This is decades, centuries even of human understanding and introspection of our species and who we are as individuals and our societies. Your personal incredulity doesn't just demonstrate anything in opposition to that, other than that you don't know what you're talking about.
Something that you disagree with is in your version of the truth is different than their version of the truth. What is the material harm of them living their life as a woman or man or gender that you don't agree?
Not anything that's wrong is there a material harm necessarily.
So there's no harm?
I didn't say that.
So can you name a single harm?
The way that it's pushed onto kids, first of all.
What's pushed onto kids?
Gender ideology, transgenderism.
But if they're leading happy lives, and they just are leading a
Well, there are studies that show that they're more suicidal after transition.
No, that's not true.
Yeah,
that's completely false. Absolutely, the opposite is true. This is probably citing the same study that Payne Creek did a stream on, that Stephanie went in there and cracked open and debunked right live on his stream. So I think she shared that on her channel. You can post a link to that, but it's the same study trying to claim that their suicide rates go up after transitioning, and that's just not true. That's not the conclusion of the work.
It's a study out of Sweden.
That is not true. That is not true.
Yeah, you can look up the study.
Well, taking into account all of the happy...
It is. She even said the study out of Sweden. It's the exact same study. So please go, Steph, or somebody from my mod staff here can go grab that link and drop it here, because you've already cracked that nut. I don't necessarily feel the need to rehash it, but yeah, the study does not reflect that. That's not the conclusion of the work.
People that have transitioned who are not harming anyone. You can't come up with a single material harm.
So if someone says, I'll be happier if I'm blind, should a doctor pull their eyes out?
If there was research that showed that having that sort of service benefited a person who had sight dysphoria for some reason, then yes, but there's no studies that support that. There's not a single study that supports removal of the eyes as a benefit to somebody who has sight dysphoria. As a matter of fact, I don't think sight dysphoria is a thing. This is the same argument that they make about people with anorexia. Oh, because they have this delusion about their body, should we affirm that? No, because that's not a viable treatment option. That's not what the study shows is the best process to treat that condition. It's done on a case-by-case basis. They've done the research into what treatment paths work best for what conditions, and they're not always the same. So you can't say that, oh, because you have this sort of body dysmorphia, this path is the right one for you, even though this the medical coding, the CPT on it doesn't even match the services that are going to be rendered. And this interview was done as a direct consequence of Taylor Loren's Washington Post article on Next Benedict's death, and the school district Raichik posted lies about, leading to the teacher's harassment, a child's beating delivered by 3 older girls. Yeah, we did we did cover some of that at the beginning here, but yeah, we read the August 2022 article stuff, so we did catch up on that. I took your critique seriously about how to present this, so I did do a layout of who Chaya was, who Taylor was, and what the topic of conversation was going to be in their history together. So I did think that was a good idea when you gave that critique. So we will move forward.
I think that's quite different than gender ideology, but people do, I guess.
Someone says I'm happier if I chop my dick off, and we should just let them do that.
I think, there's
as an adult? Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's that same study that Doug misread. Chaya misread it too. The Sweden study. That lady couldn't find Sweden on a map. You're not wrong, AR. First lies are free speech. Then it was all about not spreading lies. Now she is utilitarian. I am sure her ideology is shape-shifting as she's interviewed, right? She's doing like the liquid metal Terminator, just oozing around everything that's asked of her.
A lot of gender-affirming care that women do, right? I mean, women ascribe to certain gender things. You see women getting boob jobs to affirm their gender. I mean, we're in Los Angeles. We see this kind of gender-affirming.
So again, you're comparing boob jobs and nose jobs to
they're
people being buying into the lie that they could change their sex.
Breast enhancements are...
Nobody's buying into the lie that they can change their sex. We know that through HRT and augmentation, you can have your body express as the opposite, or some where in between the opposite and your assigned sex, and somewhere on that spectrum that you can have your body present that way. You'll have generally, I can't think of any trans person at all who isn't trans. Well, obviously it's trans or transsexual, right? Where we have parts of each group, but that doesn't, we're wholly neither. That's why we call ourselves trans women or trans men. We know we're not in denial that we were born with these certain characteristics of our body, and that may not match up with our identity, and we do have to live with them. Sometimes they cause us dysphoria, sometimes they don't. But it's not for you to decide what we need. in order to be happy and comfortable psychologically. And the reason why Taylor is bringing up nose jobs and boob jobs is because those are done for the same reasons. Because somebody is unsatisfied with their gender expression when they mature and their breasts come in, or their bodies change, or their collective testicles drop. they may not be happy with the direction their body is going, and it may cause dysphoria, even in a cis person. And they may need to go to a therapist and talk about it. And the therapist may say, hey, I think that because you're having this dysphoria about this feature, and it's completely healthy for you to be able to operate with this feature in this modified state, that we're going to go ahead and recommend modification to make your life easier, to make it easier for you to live. That happens all the time, and overwhelmingly done with cis people.
Are gender affirming for women. There's a lot of women that feel small chested. They feel like it would be gender affirming for them to have plastic surgery, and they're allowed to do it. And I noticed that you don't critique that. I guess I'm curious, Haya, there are a lot of people that have ideas about women, right? And about what makes a woman, right? What makes a appropriate woman? How should a woman? You're saying you're against people sort of like living lives or living outside this ideology that you've constructed. Some might say, look, we're both women over the age of 25, working. I certainly don't have kids. They might consider that not okay for a woman. Do you think it's up to that? Do you think it's okay for them to dictate how you live your life as a woman? Do you think it's up or sort of where does that line get drawn?
So again, you're comparing boob jobs to teenage girls chopping up her breasts.
Well, first,
those are the same procedures are done for both groups, right? But whether it's trans men having mastectomies to remove breast tissue, or trans girls getting breast implants, or trans women getting breast implants, is the case. It's usually not something you can get before you're 16, most places, but. There, like she said, there were girls that got boob jobs when we were in high school. So, but yeah, those are yes, we're comparing those because those are all types of gender affirming care. Jaya, yes, those are the same types of services, gender affirming care.
Well, teenage girls get boob jobs, but breast enhancements are gender affirming for many women. I'm asking you, why is it that people have to live under your sort of view of gender? And
it's not my view; it's science. It's facts. It's biology.
But biology,
it is not science. Sociology is a science that recognizes gender. Psychology is a science that recognizes gender. You are a science denier, Chaya. Science does not agree with you. There are plenty of sciences that require gender in order for our understanding of them to function. Especially social sciences.
We're talking biology. There's a spectrum of gender. There's people that are intersex.
That is a rare medical condition that has nothing to do with someone deciding that they could be
multiple conditions.
The opposite gender.
I guess I'm still kind of struggling to understand how you think, if your view, say tomorrow Trump is elected, he says, all right, we're going to all live by Haya's, decisions, right? What about all these happy trans people that are living their lives that are not harming anyone? What harm are they doing by living their life as a woman who've medically transitioned? They're adults. I understand you have problems with kids, but with adult trans people, what's the harm that they're doing to society?
To society, they're spreading a lie that is affecting children also.
What is the lie, though? You just said that adults can live however they want. So what is the lie?
So you just believe gender is a lie. And what if somebody said to
you can't change your gender.
And what if somebody said to you, you're not a real woman? You're not a real woman because maybe you don't meet these certain specific definitions of femininity.
That's fine. I don't care. They can call me whatever you want.
But what if you would be forced to live by that system?
Yeah, but what if that meant society had to start forcing you to use the other bathroom, Chaya? And putting an M on your driver's license because they decided that you weren't feminine enough. What is that? Where will you stand on that when they come down on you like that? Where are you drawing your line at, ma'am?
But before
is that based in science?
Well, I don't think any of it's really based in science.
Well, it is.
Gender is a social construct.
Well, gender is actually made up.
Exactly. Yes, we agree on this.
Here we go. We're going to start talking about, I don't know if we're going to get to John Money or not, but we're going to talk about, the term gender was invented by a pedophile or something like that, I'm sure.
By a child predator, by a pedophile.
We don't agree.
Yeah, so he made up gender, and now they conflate the two, and they use it to basically trans kids. So there are actually two sections.
You cannot trans somebody. Somebody cannot be turned to being trans. Someone can't be transformed into a trans person from a cis person. You're either trans or you're not. It's not a process that happens to you. I've been arguing this on Twitter for about a week now with idiots that insist, even idiots that think that they're allies and think they're on the side of the trans people, that oh yeah, trans can be caused by sexual abuse. No, it can't. You can't be abused into being trans. You can't be coerced into being trans.
Sexes, and there are 0 genders, and there are many personalities. That's what I believe.
Okay. You know,
and I've heard that argument too. There are 0 genders and countless personalities. That's not what gender is. That's not how identity works either.
LGBTQ people say that your posts cause an enormous amount of pain. How does that make you feel?
How does it make you feel that your reporting on me causes me pain?
I feel sad for that, honestly. Yeah.
So would you stop?
No, I'm a journalist and you're a public figure. But I'm just talking about, these non-public figures, right? These non-public figures that are...
Well, if you put yourself out there on a public platform, then you're kind of making
So anybody that posts on social media is a public figure in your mind?
If you're...
Here we go. You all ready for some mental gymnastics on how she's a public figure but not a public figure, and they're public figures but they're not really public figures? It gets really weird.
Putting your videos out there with the intention that it should go viral, you want publicity.
So if somebody's posting on social media, which... inherently posting on social media, you're looking for attention, right? You're saying that meets the bar for a public figure?
I'm not a lawyer.
But I'm asking your opinion.
I think that these people, well, first of all, a lot of the people I post about are actually in positions that are public.
But
teachers,
I'm talking about
doctors.
the people that haven't, right? The individual private citizens.
Teachers are not public figures. Teachers are not public figures. They're state employees. Stop it.
Citizens that you've posted who are not, I would argue they're not public figures. You're saying they are public figures because they're posting on social media?
They want to be public. They are public. They're going on a public platform and publicly posting a video on a social media site that is meant for your videos to go viral.
And what about Twitter? Would you consider Twitter as well a platform where stuff is meant to go viral?
Every social media. If someone posts something on social media, it could go viral. It's always a risk.
Got it. So when you were building your audience and had hundreds of thousands of followers, then would you also agree that you were a public figure?
I think that if anyone who puts something out there publicly, anyone could share their stuff.
Got it. And so, but I'm saying you consider these people, LGBTQ people, who are just posting on social media.
Yeah, but you can't just attach whatever label to the video you want. You can't post a video of somebody and say, yeah, this person's a child predator that works at a school. You can't do that because a gay person posts a video about being gender affirming to trans kids.
Public figures.
I said I'm not a lawyer. I don't know the legal
definition. I'm just asking your
of public
opinion.
Figure.
One thing you noted, and I'm only asking this because I know that you've noted that when I reported on you that you felt like it was unfair and that you didn't meet the bar for a public figure. So I'm just kind of wondering, as somebody with such a large social media audience, you're saying people with much smaller social media audiences meet the bar for a public figure. Wouldn't you have considered yourself a public figure?
If anyone puts out content publicly, then that content could go anywhere. That's what I believe. It could go viral. Anyone could share it. It could go to the wrong side. What they call the wrong side of TikTok.
Yeah.
It could go. People will see it. You can't control that. Mm-hmm. That's why they hate me, because they want to create this content and they only want their bubble to see it. And then I'm like showing it to other people and they just can't handle it.
You're not just showing it to other people. You're saying to other people that, hey, this queer person is a predator. That's what you're saying. It's different than just saying, hey, here's what this queer person shared. You're saying this queer person shared this. Also, they're a predator and they work at this school, and they're preying on children at this school. That's what you do.
Realizing it as well.
I provide very little commentary, probably the least from any other Twitter account that's even a quarter of my size.
Let's talk about drag shows. You've come out a lot about, you're very against drag shows. Can you give any examples of children being harmed from drag shows?
Yeah, there was one where this mom was saying that her kid decided to be non-binary.
Anecdote, and then oh my gosh, the horror was that she came out as non-binary.
After
they came out as
watching the drag show, and then the drag queen helped the kid buy new clothes to be non-binary.
And you consider that harmful?
Yeah, well, because non-binary is made up. There's no such thing as non-binary.
But you're Orthodox Jew, and that's made up. There's no such. They're social constructs that we created, right? Like Orthodox Jew is not a natural order of humans, right? It's something that we created It's a category that we created, just like non-binary. Hope that helps.
And then it just leads a kid on a path where probably they'll end up in a hospital getting some of their body parts chopped off.
You seem very against plastic surgery.
She keeps referring to it as body parts chopped off instead of plastic surgery. They don't just like, that's not how any of this works. None of it's a situation where they're just like, blop, and then a part comes off. Chop the titties off, chop the wiener off. That's not how it happens. Oh shoot, I lost my place.
They're spreading a lie that is affecting children also.
So you just believe gender is a lie. And what if somebody said to
you can't change your gender.
And what if somebody said to you, you're not a real woman. You're not a real woman. So if somebody's posting on social media, I'm just kind of wondering, as somebody with such a large social media audience, you're saying people with much smaller social media audiences
We helped the kid buy like new clothes to be non-binary.
There we go.
And you consider that harmful?
Yeah, well, because non-binary is made up. Like you can't, there's no such thing as non-binary. And then it just leads a kid on a path where probably they'll end up in a hospital getting some of their body parts chopped off.
You seem very against plastic surgery. Are you against?
I'm against sex change surgeries.
What about women that want to get their boobs done, want to get their nose done, want to get cheek implants?
We're just gonna go in circles.
Well, I'm just curious.
But
you just don't. You've never answered that. Every time she's brought that up, you say, "I'm not talking about them people. I'm talking about the people talking. Why are you comparing this to people talking their penis off?" She wants to know where you stand on elective plastic surgery for cis people, and you're just avoiding the question.
To note that you're comparing nose jobs to teen girls getting their breast chopped off.
Well, teen girls also get boob jobs to make their breasts bigger, right? So both are gender.
Right? Why is it when it's a breast reduction for a cis woman, it's a breast reduction? When it's a breast reduction for a trans woman, it's chopping their boobs off. Such a weird flex.
Affirming in different ways. You seem very obsessed with one and not interested in the other. So that's kind of what I'm interested in. And I guess I don't really understand that because both are gender affirming in different ways.
I don't call it gender affirming care. I call it sex change surgeries for people who are sold a lie that they can change their sex.
Where do you sort of hope this will end up? Like all of this sort of...
Right. It's that if you get a surgery that affirms you in a direction different than what she thinks your biological sex should be presented as, then she disagrees with it. So she does it on a case by case basis, where everything about you has to be tied into what genitals you were born with. Yup, you were born with a penis. You can't get breast implants. Sorry.
See that you're doing. I know you said you don't have a 5-year plan for yourself, but what are if you were sort of like going to describe your platform? What are some things that you'd like to see meaningful changes in terms of policies, laws?
Oh, I want to eradicate gender ideology from public life.
Everybody ready to be eradicated? All my trans friends ready to get eradicated by the Knowles line?
From public life completely?
Yeah, the whole thing is built on a lie.
Well, you certainly have a gender yourself.
Gender ideology? No, I don't. I have a sex. Gender. There's no such thing as gender.
Okay.
I said gender is made up. There's no such thing
I
as
agree that gender is a completely social construct.
No, it doesn't exist. It's
okay.
There are 0 genders. I have a sex. I'm female.
There are 0 genders.
Yeah.
So you want to live in sort of a...
Like and this is how deeply they have to reject modern science in order to hold on to these ideas. Like they have to reject all the social sciences, all the psychology, everything in order to sell this narrative that gender is not real, because it's been part of our culture, even when we weren't calling it gender. It's been part of our society and culture since the Paleolithic.
Post-gender world, where everybody can kind of express themselves through personality however they like.
Well, that's what it is now, but they're just calling it gender.
So,
but there's males and females, and then
So if
there's
they were to,
infinite.
I'm just kind of curious here, and I'm certainly not a gender scholar, so I'm not sure. Maybe somebody sort of posed this question too. But if people were to let's just say, fine, we eliminate male, female, non-binary, whatever gender.
This gender abolitionist argument almost breaks her. I'm here for it.
Eliminate that. We're all just people, or we identify by our sex. Would you still be okay with people, wearing dresses if they appear to be biologically male, or women shaving their head, things like that? Are you still okay with that as long as they're not calling themselves by a different name?
Don't sexualize kids. That's what I'm against.
But I'm just saying, you want to live in a post-gender world.
But you want people who are queer to not be allowed around kids. So we need to know where you stand. Like if you see somebody who's queer, right? and they're wearing a dress, but they're willing to say, okay, I'll go by he, him, and all that. Are you policing how they present themselves to the world? And why do you think that's okay to police the way somebody presents themselves to the world? What dress code are you enforcing?
Where there's no gender, right? And anybody can just have the personality and express themselves however they want.
That's how it is now. These people who are calling themselves a different gender.
But I'm just saying, you're right,
really
and your issue is with the language around that, right? So I'm saying, let's eliminate the language. Do you support people, adults? Let's just talk about adults for the sake of this discussion. Do you support those adults having bodily autonomy, dressing, acting, painting their nails or shaving their head or doing whatever they want to do to express themselves?
I don't care if a guy wants to paint his nails.
So you don't care about...
Leave the kids out of it. Don't sexualize the kids. Don't confuse
What
them.
if a guy wants to paint a kid's nails? Or a kid wants to paint a guy's nails? Where... Your line is so blurry that we don't know where you stand on anything other than just how you feel about each individual case. There's no definitive answer from you as to what you think a male's should be able to dress as, what you think a female should be able to dress and present as. It's not there. It's not in your argument. You hand wave it and just say that it exists. That a line that you want where you can be on this side or that side exists, but you won't say where it is. You won't say, because gender presentation is fucking cultural. That's why you won't say what it is, because you can't say, well, men can't wear dresses when through most of history, men have worn dresses. Matter of fact, men were wearing dresses for a long time before they ever started wearing anything different. So
speaking of sexualization of kids, I think one group of young people that's constantly sexualized is young women. What are your thoughts, and why haven't you, come out more against some of the sort of sexualization of young women, especially in the right-wing media ecosystem? There's a focus on youth in women. There's a focus on sort of women under 25, women losing value with age. This is stuff, that's been...
I'm a woman in the conservative movement.
It's manosphere stuff that it comes up on Joe Rogan and all the podcasts and stuff that you go on. So you should be well aware of it, Chaya. But let's watch her deny that she knows anything about this high-value women losing their value at 35 and all this nonsense. Let's see if she denies knowing anything about it.
Women under 25, women losing value with age. This is stuff, that's been...
I'm a woman in the conservative movement. I never once felt sexualized.
You've never felt sexualized yourself, but I'm saying, why don't you speak out about sort of sexual abuse in the straight world, I guess?
So you just changed topics.
No. I'm saying, you're saying we're against the sexualization of kids.
Yeah.
One group of children that's constantly sexualized is young women. 13-year-old girls, 14-year-old girls are constantly sexualized on the internet, often by conservatives. So I'm wondering, especially given, what some commentary has come from people at the Daily Wire, for instance.
Yeah, you'll never see Chaya Raichik at a debutante pageant for these little girls, these toddlers in tiara. You'll never see her there where the actual child grooming and sexualization of children is actually happening. You won't see her reporting on that. No, she's at Drag Queen Story Hour watching adults wear costumes and getting mad about it. And that's where her outrage is, not where these things are actually happening, not where the child brides are coming from. No, she's going to go into a public library where a trans person's reading books to a kid and throw a fit about that instead.
That's right. They made comments about young women losing value with age, which is kind of a pedophilic ideology. Why not speak out on that?
I've never seen that. I have no evidence.
You've never seen young women getting sexualized?
I focus on kids.
And you've never seen young girls getting sexualized?
I've seen young girls getting sexualized. I'm referring to the Daily Wire thing. I can't answer
for
that.
But let's just talk about young girls. Why don't you speak out about that? Why don't you speak out about sort of heteronormative...
Yeah, she's been on the Daily Wire. She's been on Joe Rogan, so she has to know about this manosphere stuff. Well, women losing their value at 25. Basically, women losing their value when they're no longer children, right? When they're adults or when they no longer pass for children. That's where the line is for the manosphere, right? That 25 line, that's what they're saying. That's what they're saying without saying it out loud. They're saying that once a woman can no longer pass for a child, once she's no longer, it needs to be ID'd to find out if she's 18, then she's lost her value. That's what that argument means for anybody who's mistaken about that. For anybody who doesn't understand what they mean when they say that a woman loses her value when she can no longer pass for a child. So sit on that and soak it in, because that is what everybody from Fresh and Fit to whatever podcast, to Joe Rogan, all these shows that promote this manosphere message, that's what they're saying.
Gender men, traditional men, sexualizing young girls, young female girls.
I speak out about the sexualization of kids.
But you don't speak out about sort of the sexualization of kids by straight people.
I don't discriminate on who's sexualizing the kids.
But
if a kid's being sexualized.
Well, but there's only one group of kids that you're talking about, which is...
Your friend, Matt Walsh, the whole little video clip of him talking about how women are most fertile at freaking 16, talking about how 16 years olds are the perfect breeding partner and shit, and you're just like, oh, no, he's not sexualizing kids. But if that same 16-year-old wanted to go and get a mastectomy because having breast gave her dysphoria, whether she decides that she's wanting to transition her identity or not, she just wants to get rid of them titties because they're causing her dysphoria. You're against that, but you want Matt Walsh to be able to like breed her, right?
You're concerned about sort of people being sexualized by the LGBTQ community. I'm saying a lot of straight older men.
Not necessarily the LGBTQ. I mean, if they're, I don't want straight teachers to be talking about their sexuality in schools either.
So you wouldn't be okay with a straight teacher, for instance, discussing their marriage?
I think it's weird. Why would someone discuss their marriage in the class?
So your teacher giving their identity immediately when you walk into the classroom, written on the board as expressing their sexuality explicitly. Women's names, well, if it's a female teacher, if it's a male teacher, it's not. But if it's a female teacher or woman teacher, the way she presents her name up on the blackboard, well, I guess it's whiteboards now, but when I was a kid, it was blackboards. Up on the board tells you directly her sexual orientation, right? It tells you that well, I shouldn't say it tells you directly her sexual. It does tell you some inference, though. It tells you her marital status, whether she's married, divorced, or widowed. So even if she's been married, if she's used, that's tracked in the way that they document it. So yeah, you get that information immediately about your teacher as soon as you step into the classroom. Why you lying, child? Why you always lying? Everything you say is a lie.
Honestly, I don't know. You were a teacher. I feel like teachers sometimes do that,
Not a teacher. She was not a teacher. I've never seen any evidence that this woman has ever taught education or educated anybody ever. Maybe she was a homeschooler.
I do think that there is a sexualization of children from straight couples. I mean, I know that I went shopping for a friend recently to find little baby onesies, and when you're looking for little boy baby onesies, a lot of them say, where's my mommy's tits or whatever. You see these kind of, I would say.
Well, Lena, I don't know of any case like that at all either. I'm just saying it doesn't matter to me why a young woman would want to get a mastectomy if it was causing her mental distress. I don't care. She can get them reduced or removed or anything that she wants to do to her body to help her live a healthy, happy life. I'm not saying that I know of any situation where it happens. I do know lots of girls who got breast reductions in high school, but not full mastectomies, not any cis women or trans women. But it was different time. I know women that did get reductions and ones that did get implants as well. So, yeah.
Sexual innuendo on babies' clothes. I've never seen you post about that. I've never seen you post about sort of sexualization from the straight community, I guess.
I don't discriminate against who's doing the sexualization. I guess, what are you defining as sexualization? But I've never said, oh, look, here's porn in school, and the librarian is not straight. No, I don't care who the librarian is. I don't care if they're straight or gay or trans or whatever they want to say they are.
Yeah, I just think it seems... I guess I wonder why you don't focus on sort of young girls as a woman. I mean, were you ever sexualized as a young child? No. I find that interesting because I think all women kind of experience that, although it depends on your community. But I do think that there's a focus on women and age as well. And there's this notion that women lose value as they age. And I know I hear that all the time in my comments from conservatives.
I've never once seen that.
You've never seen that?
No.
I've
never seen a conservative figure say that women lose value when they age.
Why do you think there's such a...
That's the lie right there. That is definitely a lie, because these are the messages being shared on the podcast that she goes on, right? The people that she talks to are the same people that say this message, that have their high value woman and arguments and things like that, and that women lose their value once they're no longer look like a child. She knows that happens. She just doesn't want to talk about it because that's not her brand.
Obsession about women and ages then.
women. I've never known there was an obsession. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Women and ages.
Yeah. There is a notion, especially platformed by conservative media, that women lose value as they get older. You see this espoused constantly when people are talking about reproductive capabilities. Oh, her eggs
You're
are
saying
dried
when
up.
they promote like family values, like, oh, you should get married and have kids. Is that what you call sexualization?
No. I'm talking about more.
No, that women lose their value as they get older. That if a woman doesn't get married by the time she's 25, she has less chance of finding happiness because she has a lower score as a desirable woman, which is ridiculous. I've met women who are from late 20s to their 50s that I would not be able to tell, that you could line them up and they're all equally as gorgeous despite their ages. It's that they want them to look like children is the thing. That if after that age they don't look like children anymore, that's the problem that they have. And I'm so sorry that I keep harping on that, but that's just, the manosphere pisses me off so much because they want to talk. These people that beat the drum about child predation are literally the predators that are saying, yes, teenage girls, yum, yum, yum.
Derogatory remarks made against women and their age. I bring it up because I think a lot of your fans seem to obsess about women and ages, and so it's misogyny at its core, and I never see you speak up about that, so I was just kind of curious about.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm wondering like why you don't speak up about the sexualization of kids.
I don't think it's a problem. I don't see as much. If I saw an example of a child being sexualized, of course I have a problem with, certain things. I will say.
So do you think we should give kids porn in school? The images of like gay sex?
So again, she's going to take illustrations from books about sex acts for young adults and teenagers. It's supplemental sexual education material like genderqueer, and present that as if it's pornography instead of as if it's literally sexual education material. That's what's going to happen.
I went to public school, and in public school, at least when I was growing up, we were absolutely given literature, explaining sex, educating people.
It had pictures of like anal sex?
Oh, absolutely. And it actually talked about condom use.
What grade?
God, I mean...
Mine was 8th grade, but I think we probably could have benefited from it, at least working our way up to the more mature concept. I think it would have benefited for it to have been all through middle school, starting from well, it would depend on the school you're in, 6th grade to 8th grade or 5th grade to 8th grade. Just a few years of comprehensive sex ed is probably what we need.
I don't remember, but certainly probably middle school. I think that's when we had sex ed.
So you think like books like Genderqueer, This Book is Gay, we should give that to kids in school?
I have not read those books, so I don't know. But I do think that it's important to educate kids about sexuality, if nothing else, because, I have spoken to women that were abused sexually when they were young, very young. And one thing that they've told me is that they wish that they had the language to talk about it, and they weren't educated. They grew up in I only know 2 that I've spoken to about this, but they've grown up in sort of societies where they weren't very educated about sex ed. They didn't receive sex ed in class. They went to a Catholic school or other sorts of schooling. And so I do think it's really important for kids to understand sex, because as we all know, a lot of teenagers can be sexually active.
And this really does bring me to my brain back to like when they were covering not here, they were covering the Girls Define woman. She was talking about not knowing this woman had a baby and everything, and said she just didn't enjoy sex or whatever because she didn't know what a clitoris was, and her spouse didn't either because they didn't understand sex because they grew up in an isolated community that they were kept from learning these things. And it took one of their friends who was had a baby and was a nurse showing her on the baby before she realized the devil's doorbell or whatever, how to ring the devil's doorbell. So yeah, the isolation in these like homeschooling situations, these people come out inept. We know for a fact that they are dangerous. We know for a fact that statistics show that teenage birth rates go up and down in correlation to comprehensive sex ed in school. This isn't speculative. We have the data on it. So just because she feels like it's bad doesn't have any weight at all.
I think sex education is important to promote, healthy attitudes, healthy understandings of sex. I mean, these are human bodies. You can't just expect to send kids off at 18 with absolutely no sex ed and then think that they can function in the world.
So we should give kids like pictures of gay sex in middle school and actually elementary school, some of them.
I guess
No.
I'm wondering what you...
I don't think that anybody's ever given kids gay sex material in elementary school. I think you're lying. I think you're just straight up lying there. But you've been lying most of this time, so that doesn't change anything of what you've said. But the stuff that you're trying to pretend is it's just pornography when it's actually sexual education material. It's literally drawings, not pictures or photos or anything. Literally drawings of how sex acts are performed in this book that she's freaking out about. But what it comes down to me is, why are these people so dead set and not letting children know what these sexual acts look like so that they can report if they're being abused sexually? Why do you want to keep kids in the dark about whether Pawpaw touching them that way is bad or not? Why do you want to keep them in the dark about that? Why do you want them to live and become adults and move out before they find out that they were being molested all their childhood and then having to cope with that as adults? Why? Why do you want that to be what children go through? Why are you a fucking monster?
You consider that. I think.
Do you want to see a picture?
Well, I don't know, but I mean, are you talking about the ones that you've posted on your Twitter account? Yeah. I guess those don't look like what I received when I did sex ed, but I think sex ed is important.
She's like, do you want to see some porn on my phone? No. But she's just got pictures from like genderqueer on her phone. Like, yeah, it's really weird.
Because it actually helps.
So you didn't have those types of things when you were at school?
Oh no, we had sex ed.
I'm saying the images I posted on my Twitter.
When you had sex ed in school, did you not get books with graphic
with
imagery?
pictures of gay sex?
I remember, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't remember how old you are, but I grew up in the 90s when HIV and AIDS was a big thing, and we certainly learned about gay sex in school.
So
we definitely had, I think we had a whole section on gay sex because AIDS specifically. So condom use and things like that were a really important part of that. And yeah, gay sex did come up. Anal sex was discussed ad nauseum.
So those pictures I posted on my Twitter, you had graphics like that?
Even freaking lubrication because it's spread through tearing of the mucous membrane. That's why you learn about it.
I actually don't know. I don't remember, to be honest. But I do think that it's really important to
But knowing those pictures, you seem to know very well what those pictures are. Do you think that?
I don't. I've seen
you kept referencing it.
Well, I've seen you post things, but I don't
pull
know.
it out.
But I think, I guess I feel...
Because we need to put this into context.
Yeah. Well, we won't know the context, of course, because we don't know the context of how those things are being taught.
Oh, so we could give kids like pictures of gay sex as long as it's in a proper context?
I don't know. I mean, it's up to the educator to determine, right? I don't.
If it's diagrams on how to safely and effectively perform these acts with as little as risk as possible for children that are going to grow up to do these things anyway, because I don't know if you know this, Chaya, but children eventually turn into adults who have sex, right? So them knowing how to be safe and how to have safe and effective sexual encounters that don't result in STDs or unwanted pregnancies is important. It's important for everybody.
I don't know. I guess I'm kind of curious.
Sounds like you're like, okay, straight sex ed is fine, but if they start talking about gay people, then it's grooming. If they start talking about how anybody else has sex besides vaginal penetration, that's grooming. That's not sex ed. Sex ed. I know you think sex ed should just be about procreation, right? But it's not. People do other things. There's other sexual acts that people engage in that children need to know about and be aware of, especially to prevent them from being abused, but also to help them from being exposed to STDs and, again, unwanted pregnancies. I'm sorry I'm beating this drum over and over again, but come on now.
Why you sort of focus so much about the LGBT? You keep mentioning gay sex, but you don't mention straight sex. Why is there such a focus on the LGBTQ world?
Oh, I don't want pictures of sex in school. Any pictures.
So you don't think children should receive any sort of sexual education, straight or gay?
I said I don't want pictures of sex in school.
But you think that they should receive picture-free sex education?
No, I think we discussed this earlier.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm curious kind of how you're thinking, when you think about the way that you put out content and the way that you think about growing your media empire.
Here, this is the upload job.
What? I don't know what book this is from.
Genderqueer.
Okay.
Oh,
There's a
God.
picture of a blowjob in elementary schools.
I've never seen a book like that in elementary schools, but I have no idea.
It has been. I
Okay.
posted about it.
It's the irony of this, again, is because this book is designed to show children how different sex acts are performed in that nature. And that particular image, as far as I'm aware, is there's not even any actual sexual acts going on in there. It's that's someone showing them how to do it on a prosthetic as part of a story plot. But now it's on my YouTube forever. So thank you, Chaya Raichik, for putting sex education material right front and center in the middle of this interview. You're such a weird person. I'm glad this interview is almost over. It's been exhausting.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit
So
about.
should it be in elementary schools?
I have no idea the context. I have no idea.
So
the
in what
context.
context is it okay if it would be in
I
elementary
have
schools?
absolutely no idea. I have absolutely no idea. I would not. I don't know, Kai, because I haven't seen the rest.
I
of the
don't think that genderqueer is in elementary schools. Isn't genderqueer literally for supplemental sex education for junior highs and high school students? Like it's basically like, oh, you here's a book in case you think you might be queer, for us to have in our library in case that turns out to be. So what she wants, I guess, is for queer people to not have books to tell about how they interact, and give them the sexual education that they need, or to hone it in on their specific needs as a queer person. Nope, that can't exist.
Look, I don't know what's in there. I don't know the
But
context.
there is a context that it would be okay to give kids pictures
Yes.
like that of gay sex, anal sex in
I guess
elementary
sex.
school.
I guess sex pictures in school. I don't know because you know who I would defer to on that. Just because neither of us are sex educators, I would defer that question to a qualified professional, a sex educator, and say, hey, you're an expert. You've treated you've educated tons of people. You're a full-time sex educator. You've really studied this. What are the appropriate boundaries? I don't think that myself as a journalist or a media personality, I don't think I'm the right one to make that decision. And I guess I'm wondering why.
I have seen sex educators
I guess I'm wondering why you think you are. Yeah.
say that they want these books in schools. So then you're okay with it?
I think I would want to talk to the sex educator and rely on whatever the sex educators say.
Okay.
I'm wondering why you feel like you're qualified to be a sex educator when you have no background in that.
I don't want to be a sex educator. I just don't want to give kids porn in school.
I totally understand.
Well, because you're not a sex educator, how do you know? But you think that sex education material is porn because you're not a sex educator and don't know what sex educators do and don't know what sex education is. So yeah, it's reciprocal. You're self-defeating your argument here.
Tell me a little bit more about sort of, just to change topic, about your content world. You put out a lot. You've got a whole staff now. How do you see your business growing, and what areas would you like to expand into?
I'm not going to get into my business strategy.
Do you see yourself? I've noticed that you've been doing more video content. Are you leaning harder into Rumble?
I like doing video content.
Do you have a partnership with Rumble?
No.
Would you?
Maybe.
What are your thoughts on sort of the way that Twitter has evolved?
I love Twitter. It's the best. I love Elon. Elon rocks.
Elon rocks. Elon's the worst.
Have you
Elon
spoken to
saved
Elon?
free speech. Not like on the phone.
Have you talked? Would you meet with him?
Yeah.
He literally pulled journalists that he disagreed with off of the platform. He's not free speech. Twitter is the least free speech app you can possibly have. Yeah, it's literally overrun by Nazis
What's been your kind of
who will tell you that you're not allowed to say things like cis. Literally, they will police your language and say you can't call someone cis on on Twitter. They will tell you that cis is a slur on Twitter.
criticism of Elon because you're outspoken against Elon.
I'm a huge supporter of free speech and free expression, and I haven't liked the way that Elon has kind of arbitrarily banned journalists. I think that's a little concerning.
Who did he ban?
Oh, many. I mean, he banned, I think he banned Tyler Brown, the researcher. He banned, obviously, myself, Drew Harwell, other journalists.
So how do you feel about all of the conservatives that were being banned left and right when Jack Dorsey had Twitter?
I'm of the personal opinion, and I've said this on Twitter and many times, that, look, it's up to every private platform to set their own community guidelines. I'm not a huge believer in permanent bans. And I've always said that. And I defend that in the sense that these platforms evolve and people's usage of them evolve and people evolve. As you just said, you were a completely private citizen 5 years ago. You had no political ideology. Now you have a political ideology. You're a very different person.
So when I got banned from Twitter, you were upset at that? Like you thought that was wrong?
I don't remember you getting banned from Twitter.
I got banned a few times. Not permanently, but
previous to Elon.
Yeah.
Yeah. My feeling about any bans is that there should be a path to redemption, should you say. That doesn't mean that I don't think that it's in the right prerogative to ban people for 5 years, 10 years, whatever. I just personally feel like if you're going to issue lifetime bans, you should give people a path to abide by community guidelines. If you join back on and you break community guidelines again, look, that's on you. But personally, I think that, that's just my belief, and I've talked about that for years. I think that there should be a path to abiding by. If somebody says, hey, look, I know I broke community guidelines, I know what I was posting was wrong, and in sort of violating those rules, I could see tech companies allowing that.
I'm kind of on the same page as Taylor here, honestly. Yeah, she'd totally have Elon's 55th love child. Oh, I bet she would. Definition, check on rocks. You mean this guy who can't even talk to all of his children because they hate him? Right, yeah, he's just the best, doesn't he? His own fucking kids don't want anything to do with him. Twitter is worth like 1/4 of what he originally paid for it. Yeah, I posted this thing a while ago about Elon. It was just about one of my Eat the Rich communist post things, but it was anyway. People started getting really upset about the math being off, but it was based on Elon's peak value, which was $20 billion in 2021. He's now only worth 198, so it's dropped quite a bit. All right, we got about a minute and a half left of this video.
And actually, that's what Elon has done, right? I mean, he reinstated all those people that were permanently banned.
Elon is the greatest free speech warrior, I think, of all time.
Okay. Well, I try to think what else. I feel like I've gotten through.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think we're good.
What else do you have going on?
Nothing much. I'll just continue making fun of the media like I do best.
I still can't. I don't think you answered me to begin with. But what are some of your favorite media outlets?
I said I like independent journalists.
But who?
Like some of the people I follow on Twitter have the best news.
Like who? Like who are your top 3?
I would say, first of all, I love Daily Wire. I like Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh. I like everything they do. I like...
But you act like you're not aware of this manosphere high-value woman BS that they put out. Whatever.
I really like Jack Posobiec. Shout out to Jack. He's great. I like Mike Cernovich. He's cool. Who else is there? Yeah, there's a few others.
No,
yuck. Substack, by the way? I know you had a Substack at some point.
Yeah. What are your top media place for news?
404 Media. Love 404 Media. Are you familiar with them?
No.
Great website. Independent journalists. Walter Bragman, who does Important Context. Great Substack writer. A huge fan of his work. God, there's so many. Matt Bellany, Lucas Shaw, Julia Alexander. Yeah, great people. Try to see. I feel like that's...
I like Aaron Reed, Ari Drennan. I like David Packman, Luke Beasley. Yeah, those are some good ones. Anyway, so that was the interview. It took me 2.5 hours to get through it. What do you guys think? Fucking Chaya Raichik. Now we know. I mean, now we know where she stands in a lot of things. What do you guys think? I'm just so over it. So over it. But we got to keep fighting, right? Got to keep our chins up. Chin up. And we're going to keep going. We're going to... I can't believe you did that sober. I know now I need a nap. My brain's kind of... And we had, like I said, we talked about it long and hard last night. Way into the early hours of this morning. And it was not all flowers and roses. We were pretty heated about it. And I was taking my trans sister's advice on a lot of this stuff as we watched through the first quarter of this video together. It was such an eye-opening approach to things that I'm glad that we decided I decided to approach it this way, because eventually it was like, yeah, okay, I'm going to take everybody's input, and I'm going to do this the right way. So here we are. I hope that you enjoyed this. I haven't been doing a lot of Creation Watch and social content because I've mostly been focusing on my science things for my own mental health reasons. Just taking a step back from the activism just a little bit because it was starting to affect things upstairs. I'm feeling a little better this morning. This next Benedict thing took a lot out of me. That and then some personal stuff I've got going on as well. So thank you for sticking with me. Please remember to be kind. Take care, and we'll see you next time.
It's like in the great stories, Mr. Frodo, the ones that really mattered, full of darkness and danger they were. And sometimes you didn't want to know the end, because how could the end be happy? How could the world go back to the way it was when so much bad had happened? But in the end, it's only a passing thing, this shadow. Even darkness must pass. A new day will come, and when the sun shines, it will shine out the clearer. Those were the stories that stayed with you, that meant something, even if you were too small to understand why. But I think, Mr. Frodo, I do understand. I know now. Folk in those stories had lots of chances of turning back, only they didn't. They kept going, because they were holding on to something. That there is some good in this world, and it's worth fighting for.